It is the newest episode of Summoning Insight, the longest running, and I think best podcast / talk show in League of Legends. By the way, we started it so long ago, I don't think they were even actually, there was podcasts back then, but they weren't like a big thing. That was before like Joe Rogan, etc. was massive. That was back when it was still some small niche stuff. So anyway, they're actually, in fact, here's a little blast from the past if Monty can remember. The saddest thing about the old days is we always mockingly reference Travis doing his stuff. I'll give him credit, mate. At least he was doing esports stuff. Remember, most of the league podcasts back when we began, Monty, for real, were the ones where it was like people where the joke is. They were like casual league fans who were like fans of the game. And so every podcast was named, something based on like a Rift or like, some crap like that, Which is why I always thought Summoning Insight was a pretty good name. I thought I came up with an interesting angle there because I was in the same vein, but his hours has aged fantastically, mate. It hasn't gotten like Tower Dive podcast, Twin Turrets or whatever. It's not that shit, is it? I know of our shit got nerfed out the game, so it's all good.
That's right. We do have lots to actually talk about. Obviously, Faker's and this T1 roster's
surprising again. So
Worlds is ruined.
We all wanted. Listen, mate. I hadn't said on Twitter, bro, we're this close to Chovy versus Knight. It's gone. It's gone. So basically, Ron, each wait another whole year, and if in another whole year they're both on world contenders, and we get the right bracket, then we get like maybe we can see that game one day. Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, Chovy's free agency coming up as well. Okay. Who knows, man? Who knows? The thing is like, where would he actually go? Does he stay on GenG? Probably. His contract expires on November 18th. Does he go to China? He's definitely not going to KT, can tell you that. So his options are kind of Hanwha if he replaces Zeka, but I'm pretty sure Zeka, I'll check and see his contract status because I'm pretty sure Zeka's contracted through the end of 2025. Let me check. Yes, he is. So probably not Hanwha. Definitely not T1 because Faker's contracted through next year, and I don't think Faker's going to retire. And then where else would he go besides GenG if he wants to stay in Korea? Can't go to KT. Is somebody else going to step up big and pay him? Probably not. So I think he's likely to stay with GenG unless he decides to take some big offer from the LPL. But basically, besides pays, GenG's entire roster is now going to be free agents. And I can't imagine, especially because if you guys didn't know,
Lehens was already playing for T1. Enough about that. Enough about Agent Lehens on that Canavi shit. Definitely not triggered about that.
I saw people trying to push Lehens for a Dade Award candidate.
No, that's too much. Come on, he was in the semis of bloody Worlds. Come on.
He was in the semis of Worlds, and also it wasn't like he was really super hyped up. People are saying, "Oh, but he was the MVP of MSI." I'm like, yeah, that was quite a long time ago, and he was first team All Pro. That doesn't mean anything in Korea because if you're just on the first place team, you just get first team All Pro. It's not like people actually think about their votes.
Also, let's be real. Remember, he did play Swiss system into the FlyQuest series, into this one. I don't think he was that terrible. Come on. He was definitely very bad in the end of this series. Of course, he was a nightmare, but I think people forget the rest of the tournament was fine. The real problem is this, Monty. Every year they just want there to be a Dade Award winner. It's like, this is where, the concept I've always often mentioned that, like, they've basically almost ruined some sports Hall of Fames because they want everyone to get in. Everyone who was just a really good player is supposed to get in, but the whole point of a Hall of Fame is you're supposed to be selective with who gets in because it's supposed to be like the absolute greatest. So similarly, the reason why you probably can't have Lehens win the Dade Award is because the actual Dade performance was insanely bad.
Yeah, you guys don't know.
This is where people always get the stakes wrong. Dade was like a top 5 player in the whole world, all roles, and it like Giga carried like fucking OGM when he won it. And then he didn't just do badly; he ultra shit the bed against like people like ManCloud for fuck's sake, and people from like
And he played Gragas terribly, and he lost. He bombed out in group after losing a tiebreaker to Gambit in 2013. He played much better the next year.
It was also the group that didn't have any other Chinese or Koreans in it, so on paper you were supposed to like definitely get out. Remember, it was like fucking the 2 European teams got out of that group, for fuck's sake. So the reason why I bring this up is the whole point of the Dade Award is it isn't worst player or worst memeable player. It's supposed to be like a godlike player, giga shit the bed basically. And here's the thing, I agree with you, Monty. Lehens was never in that category. No one was really talking about it. Like, think about this, right? To have him where they wanted, you'd have to be like a year ago when you had Kerry. When people used to say Kerry was the best player in the world, right? If he'd have had his shit worlds, then yeah, you could do it. But I don't think the Lehens one count. That's a stretch on that one. It's just a reach, guys. And as we say, he's in the semis of world, for fuck's sake. It's not like he fucked up in the Swiss system or lost in the quarterfinal. He's all the way in the semis, for fuck's sake. Come on. But
well, I actually just looked it up, and even pays all of GenG's contracts end this next year. So this team is 100% probably exploding, because remember, guys, these players already had to take what was considered a pay cut to be on the roster this year, and also the new luxury tax, so it's a soft cap, is coming in this next year. And GenG has been very explicit publicly about saying, hey guys, we're not doing so well financially. LCK isn't doing so well financially, so I don't think they're going to splash out. They had a smaller budget than both T1 and Hanwha Life this year. GenG did. So I really just doubt that we're going to see this roster stay together unless they continue to take pay cuts just because they love playing with each other so much. It's hard to believe that they would run this one back.
Thing that they should do, Monty, you know, the obvious move is right now somewhere in China, a phone should just vibrate, and it's a message coming into the phone from Chovy, and it just says, "You up?" Ruler reaches over and picks up the phone. They need each other, bro. They need each other. We both went separately and tried to be the GOAT lineups of all time. It didn't work. We got ruined by T1, so we have to come back together. Together we will defeat T1. There you go. By the way, you know, the other thing that does low-key tilt me is that we did the fucking final of LCK again. You remember on the final of LCK, they showed on the broadcast that, like, Zeka had only ever beaten Chovy once. It was in that, like, one Worlds. And every other time he lost, and then he beat him. It's the same shit. You know that story where not only had GenG beaten T1 officials, like, 10 times in a row, whatever, but that story that came out from, like, I think it was Nuke Duck or something, where they said that in scrims, they'd heard that GenG was beating T1 20-1 in scrims. So, of course, in the real best of 5, it clapped, of course, completely clapped, sound. Also could have been a great series, but wasn't, sadly. Almost, if they actually won that game 4, I think it would have become a great series, man. It would have become like one of the best of all time.
Also, I think I agree. I think one of the things that's missing about the Ruler thing too, because I've gotten a lot of when I was streaming today, I got a lot of questions about it, is Ruler has actually been released from a contract that had him on JDG through the end of 2025. Okay. So I imagine Ruler was on some kind of Giga deal. So I am really surprised that Ruler wanted to leave this contract. And it probably comes with the fact that Ruler himself knows that, or Ruler himself doesn't want to min-max his money, because especially with the rumors that the LPL, by rumors I mean facts, that the LPL is lowering their salary cap this next year, he probably would have, with his salary, he probably would have just been on an extremely bad team where he was like 50% of the cap.
Right.
And so he is literally choosing, I think, to be more competitive for less money rather than sit on his current contract, which would almost certainly have paid him more than any other team in the world would have paid him.
That's why he deserves mad props if that's true. Because, bro, we have all those players in like LEC that just sit on their fucking shitty German labour law shit for 1 year, don't play any League of Legends, go like, haha, but I'm making 1.5 times salary. It's like, you're not playing the game, you moron. This is your career. I actually think that's ball. And also, if you think about the teams he was on, Monty, GenG into that JDG super team, he's made a lot of fucking money too. Like, he's got to be like a fucking, probably made like $10 million or something, guys. So he also can afford to actually make that deal. I mean, remember, he probably doesn't have that many more years in his career. So there's another player you have to ask a question about, Monty. Would he be playing on T1? Because everyone's forgetting T1's supposed to break up no matter what. So they have to get some players. So surely it's going to be some big names. There's players out there.
Faker is the only player who's contracted for next year. And you'd have to think Ruler would be on their list. Ruler, a couple years ago, I believe, said that GenG would be the only team he would come back to the LCK to play for. But that was a while ago now. And I think, you know, him coming back and reuniting with Chovy would be very attractive to Ruler. If I was Ruler, hot take, I would rather play with Chovy than Faker. Right?
You know, it's the worst thing of all, Monty, that we all have to pretend that like Faker's just choosing not to be good all year long. Whereas it's obviously the saddest thing of all is when you actually consider not even his longevity, just the fact he's had those wrist injuries. I imagine he's just incapable of playing like this, except on rare occasions. It just happens a few times. Fair enough, he's mega clutch at World to give him that,
It's weird when he has a few weeks break before an event and then plays fewer games at that event, sometimes with week-long breaks. He mechanically looks a lot better. Very interesting coincidence.
Just think about this, Monty. We all saw it in LCK. Like, I never saw that Silas type of. He was playing like shit on those Champions Pro. He was mid as for even like the one that really gave it away, Monty. If people didn't watch LCK, was bro. Even his Ari wasn't that sick sometimes this year. That was like his best champion the last 2 or 3 years. Like, he was really good on that. Like Prince with there. Isn't that the example right there, Monty? If you asked someone who's actually watches the game like Dom, some actual expert, who are you taking on Ari, Faker or Chovy? Bro, would he be a decision? Like, Chovy was probably the best in the whole world on that. So, no, it's why actually I think the saddest thing, as usual, is even the bloody Faker and T1 fans are going to ruin this whole narrative, because it's actually an awesome story about
it. Is a really good story.
The globe every world. It's like a dope story. That's like the world's buff through the eye or whatever. Like, that's actually a good narrative. They're instead going to make it like secretly T1 was somehow T1 returned to Championship Farm. Like, it's going to make like some bad prequels meme or something in it. Sequel.
We also just can't even celebrate T1 for the right reasons, because when you try to talk about it, the entire T1 fan narrative just turns into, but they were always the GOAT team. Aren't they the GOAT team now?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, can we recognize why they're good now and appreciate that, while also simultaneously acknowledging that they literally have won one domestic split in the last 6, and they only did it in their first split as a roster. It's kind of shit, guys. They never won MSI. They won 1 Worlds, although probably 2, if we're going to be honest.
Win 2. Yeah. By the way, they could have won 3 as well. They could have won them all. But,
I mean, they should have won 2 already. Like, they should have beaten DRX. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
But
some would say them not actually is a mark against the Monty, or not. Crazy idea. You know, in the same way, Monty, how it's a mark against Chovy to lose to Faker. Here's what's weird, Monty. Explain this to me. Why is it a mark against him if Faker's the GOAT and this is the GOAT team? Isn't that totally legitimate that you could lose against them? Surely you could even be the second best team of all time. No. In their brains, it's a superposition. Chovy is simultaneously total subhuman shit and a choker, but the only person he chokes and loses against is like the best player of all time and the best team of all time in the most important tournament of all time.
But Chovy also beats Faker 10 best of series in a row.
That's because Faker's saving strats for Worlds. So he's just saving his energy. Rope-a-dope the whole time. Rope-a-dope.
I mean, what's funny is like GenG this is the first time GenG's actually been knocked out by T1 at Worlds with this T1 roster. Yeah. Because GenG was busy losing to other teams in previous years.
True.
Oh, man.
By the way, you know, I'll give you even an angle no one's going to think of about this as well, Monty, is, you know what's so tragic about the GenG story? Because, by the way, now GenG becomes like JDG, something of a tragedy. Like, they didn't get it done in the end of the most important tournament. The ultimate tragedy is this, Monty. Just like JDG last year, look how much it takes to beat these guys, though. Like, bro, the Hanwha series in summer was one of the closest series you'll ever watch in your life, bro. That was insane. Like, there's a million times over Hanwha could have lost that game and won that game in other games. Then you look, this one right now, like I said, it was about this close to go to a Game 5 super banger. Like, that's actually how you know GenG were insanely good. Because if this is them playing bad, no wonder they were so fucking good this year, mate. Like, they just couldn't be beaten. I even think this is another example for this final, where, look, if you want to take the night angle and go, maybe Chovy could have carried harder. Yeah, I agree with you. But again, you know the whole thing of like he's choking in it. By the way, when have I ever seen a Chovy like performance like what Lens did? It never happened. Like, he might have just had some bad games.
If Chovy did that, he would win the Dade Award, guys. I promise you.
No, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So to me, I don't even think it was that egregious. But it's more just like, you know, you got beaten on the day by a team who outperformed you. It was a mega game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there were some issues with GenG, which we'll get to. Like, we'll get into the nitty gritty of what we thought of some of these matches. But first up, guys, we've got a little bit of a new sponsor for you guys. And like the World Championship itself, we, on this episode of Summoning Insight, are sponsored by Opera GX. Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Opera GX, a browser intended for gamers. Not only that, but they've entered into a partnership with Riot to provide you with League of Legends esports and game-themed mods that are pretty cool. As you can see right now on my screen, I'm using the Renata Glask mod, which adds background music, colors, sound effects, which can all be, of course, toggled on and off in the settings menu, depending on your preferences. All you have to do to get these is to go to the LoL GX tab. You click on the controller to take you to the GX corner, click on the LoL GX tab, and they will allow you to select LoL Esports, Cassante, Lee Sin, Renata Glask, or Renekton themed mods, with more coming soon. So if you've got a favorite champion, you can go ahead and align your aesthetic there. You can see that with the Renata Glask mod, you also get the splash art here on your speed dial screen. Not only that, but if you go over here and click out the World's 2024 hub, it will bring up this page, which very conveniently has calendars to all the matches, as well as, if we scroll up, match results and VOD links to go with them, and a co-streamer hub with some of your favorite contributors to LFN, like I Will Dominate and Yamato Cannon, conveniently here for your viewing pleasure. So it's a great way to keep track of League of Legends esports, and a fun way to enjoy your browsing experience. If you've been wondering, well, I've kind of stuck on my old browser. Is it difficult to make that switch? Well, all you have to do is go into the settings tab, scroll down, and you will easily be able to import your bookmarks and settings from a different browser. Not only that, but Opera GX works with Chrome plugins, so a lot of your favorite plugins can be used as well with Opera GX, making it an easy choice to move over and simple for you on your end. If you'd like to try it out, you should go ahead and check the link that we've got below and also pinned in the comments, and you can try out Opera GX today. We're back, guys, and thank you to Opera GX for the sponsorship. As you guys have seen, they're already on Worlds. They got lots of cool features for you guys, including the calendars and the co-streaming hub and everything like that. If you want to download, you can check the link in chat. If you're live, the link below, either in our description or in our pinned comment. I'm going to give it to you too, operagx.gg/lastfreenation. operagx.gg/lastfreenation if you want to go ahead and give it a try. Nice lightweight browser. All right. So
here's the angle, Monty. This is where people need me. I am the only one who can do this, because as usual, they fucked the narrative up. You know, the narrative they're doing, Monty, is this one. It goes every year, T1 just peaks at Worlds. Like, yeah, look, it's a very, very broad strokes narrative. Yeah, that's accurate, right? But it's actually better than that, because if this is the actual narrative you should do. This is like an actual movie, Monty. Imagine a sports film in Hollywood about an aging superstar who's no longer the best and he's supposed to be at the rock bottom. Think about, like, Act 3 is right there, Monty. At the beginning of Act 3, our hero is one game from elimination from Worlds by KT Roaster. If they win game 5, they don't get to go to Worlds, Monty. You win that game after losing a D+ as well, by the way. So you have 0. No one. This is what people are going to forget. Remember where T1 was at the end of summer, Monty? They had that whole thing where they lost to everyone, seemingly, like all the top teams. They were getting giga shit on by GenG. Even Hanwha Life was handling them. As I say, D+ knocked them out of the regional. Like, the idea you go from a game 5, could not even make it to Worlds, to you're now actually, you might even win Worlds. That's like one of the greatest turnaround narratives I've ever seen, bro. Like, that's in some ways, like, it's not better than the one last year, because of the whole injury thing last year, which evokes, like, you know, Willis Reed at the New York Madison Square Garden and all that shit like that. But it's still a fucking amazing one. The idea you're one game from elimination, now you actually are 3 games from winning the whole world championship. Like, that's inconceivable. Like, in a way, that's actually like T1 did their own DRX in a way. They DRX'd it.
Yeah, I think that we can get into this now, I guess, because the Faker narratives, I think, do need to be told correctly. And I think what's so fascinating about Faker as a player, as we've said many times, is that he has reinvented himself away from his giant champion pool, huge pick diversity, surprising clutch pickups at you know, very specific times. He's not that guy anymore. Like, you basically know what he can play. His champion limitations are much more present. His mechanical limitations are much more present compared to other mid laners. But what we saw last year was that without him, this T1 roster is just dog shit on the map. And we understand now how important Faker is to the way that they play the style of the game that they play, which was on full display against GenG. It's pick compositions. It is setting traps. It is the surprising Barons. It's his game knowledge.
The best pick team of all time. We can give him that. Like, that status. Yeah, you can have it.
I think that's absolutely true.
With the best at Baron baiting as well. Like, these are really good things to be good at. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, they are definitely very surprising in the way that they play with vision and the way they set traps. And how the engages that they can see from a screen away and their willingness to commit to these calls. But I think what we understand is that Faker is the guy who is seeing the game this way, and he probably is the best macro player in League of Legends, and that's not a problem. In fact, it's an incredible accomplishment for him to transform himself over the years into that, because there's no guarantee you start where Faker started and then end where Faker is now. That is a willful act of transformation from a player who has supplemented his insane early mechanical talent and his kind of genius at micro in the game for playing for the macro side of things, right? Because that wasn't his job in the initial T1 rosters. He had players like Mandu to do that, right? Bengi was the one who was setting up vision and playing around him, and he has now become that guy, and we know what his teammates look like when he's not there. So I think they really bought into his game plan and the way that he plays. So this is actually an incredible accomplishment for Faker, and indeed why he's able to do these things. Like, now, why does this T1 team feel so stuck domestically and unable to actually win a championship? I mean, I say this, and again, we've mentioned this on the show, they're now their minimum, because again, they've reached the last 3 world finals, which is an amazing accomplishment. They now have reached a minimum of 3rd place in every single event that they have played in, including Esports World Cup that they won, including both them, the MSIs that they played in, right? Including the World Finals. And it's not even like, oh, they dropped out in semifinals, therefore it's like 3rd/4th place. No, at MSI, it's when it was double elim, so we know they were 3rd place or better. It really is extraordinary. And I think we should be telling this story, not some fake-ass narrative about how dominant this T1 team has been for the entire 3-year duration, because if we're looking at the objective amount of time, they haven't been dominant for 80% of the time.
I mean, by the way, there's even an angle, I would say, where you're doing a disservice to what we just talked about stylistically if you present them as dominant. If anything, Monty, you know when we did that episode where we decided we were going to say JDG was the best team of all time, right? What's sad is I still think the two teams, like if I look, not accomplishment-wise, because neither have won Worlds, but if I look stylistically, last year's JDG and then this year's GenG, the reason why those could be, like, spiritually the best teams ever, Monty, is because look at the way they play the game. GenG, in theory, just wins through laning and just go and scaling, etc. They don't even have to fight you in the game. And JDG was just the best team fighting team. If you look at T1's strength, which is this weird pick comp style, essentially choose like limited fights and sometimes choose not to fight, but then choose to fight around the right objectives. That's a really hard style to make work, Monty. That is like fucking walking a tightrope. So it's actually quite logical that wouldn't work all the time. Like, that's going to have times it doesn't, it just fails, and then the comp can't support it, or you don't play it outright, or you don't have the right player fed. But the few times it does work, it is beautiful League of Legends. Like, one thing I enjoyed was, here's something people might not know, Zabatine, the French guy who I do Hot Take Point Made with, and obviously does loads of French commentary, etc. People don't know he's a massive T1 fan and always has been. I think he's been a Faker fan his whole career. He even says that he actually thinks people are completely ruining the narratives around T1, because here's the difference, and he's right. In the old days of T1, we're talking about the Wolf and Bang era, and they used to win those worlds, etc., and used to run the LCKs. They were actually the boring team back then, Monty. You remember, they were the team that used to be back down 2k to 5k gold. Then they would do an epic team fight, and then put a mixture of like Faker and Bengi jungling as well, and they would get back into the game even though you're supposed to be down and win, right? That was actually sort of like, they were brute force in League of Legends. It wasn't beautiful. As Zabatine said, it's all in French on his Twitter, the beautiful teams were the ones that lost to T1. It was Rocks Tigers with all those amazing comp stuff. It was KT with the amazing map movements and objective control and sneaking barrier. That was all the brilliant shit we all loved. Those teams didn't bloody win. The joke is, in the modern day, it's reversed. The one that has the fucking style of play that's boring is like fucking GenG, isn't it? That's the cold macro. Like, T1 now is playing beautiful League. The point is, though, it's not the best style ever to play. But I tell you what, and this is the thing I said on Hot Take Point Made. My hot take, because everyone thinks I hate T1, is like, look, you can almost certainly say Faker's like the most clutch player ever. Like, he almost always does well when everyone else chokes. So similarly, I do think you actually have to give them credit. Like, it's a really hard style of play to work. It shouldn't be the best. So, by the way, if they do end up converting it to 2 out of 3 worlds, and it could have been 3 out of 3, that looks fucking insane. This is why you don't have to get into the whole thing of like, because you know what's another problem with this whole narrative, Monty, is 99% of T1 narratives just become just Faker. Like, this is Tom Brady all over it. You would think it was a 1v1 game, mate. Like, am I hallucinating? Like, look, Faker played well in that series. He didn't, like, dominate Chovy or something. And even worse, bro, like, when I watch that series, I'm looking at people like fucking Gumayushi. By the way, he's had Smurf Worlds. He's been insane the whole time. Fucking Zeus has had some really big games that were key. Like, I think people are going way too ham on this, mate. Like, as usual, it's just become, like, glazing Faker, whereas it's like, look, we can definitely talk about all things Faker's player, but I think also with T1, you deserve to talk about this as a team. As you all said, it's a 5-man lineup, mate. And the way they actually all function together is amazing too. Like, there should be like a fucking, this lineup needs to be studied for like player interactions of all the teams I've ever seen in history. Like, they're clearly not the 5 best players. Like, if we're being honest, right, if we paused right now and made every analyst, even the ones that just saw that semi, do a tier list, you wouldn't have that many T1 players at the top of your positional tier list. But
you would have 0.
As a team, yeah, the way they function is incredible, though. Like, that's where the unique strengths like play off each other, you know.
I will say at this Worlds, you would probably have Keria at the top of the support tier list. But I do not think you would have a T1 player in any other position as the number 1 player in their position, which is pretty extraordinary that they were able to make a final like that, I will say. I think, you know, you can look at a lot of the Chinese top laners, I think have been better. Like Bin and Breathe have both had very good tournaments. I think Zeus played very well in this semifinal. But I think, you know, you look at Elk and Light as probably better AD carries over the course of this entire tournament until quarterfinals. I mean, Tien was, I think, hands down the best jungler for the good, you know, for all of Swiss, basically. And I don't even think he played that badly in the quarterfinal either. I wouldn't say like he was the main reason why they were struggling. And I think Canyon had a variety of.
Canyon was bad. He was fine, mate. He was one of the better players on GenG.
Yeah, I think Keria is clearly the best support at this Worlds. And I think Faker has been good, but I'm not sure that we would say he is clear cut like the number 1 mid laner at this event. I think Knight has been like powering up, and Knight has had some really kind of amazing games so far. So I would say Knight has probably been the better mid laner. And I think Chovy has also been good, despite what other people say, for a lot of this tournament as a whole.
Oh, he's really good, yeah.
You know, Guma's been good, but I don't think he's been as impressive to me on an individual level as like Light in particular has been.
No, the thing with Gumayushi is this, Monty. The very impressive thing actually is what people are noting, that he had all those games he didn't die. Bro, the old Gumayushi was like a guaranteed death in a game. Like, he was playing super ham. Like, so I do think he's like sort of fucking shored up his weaknesses. He looks way more polished as a player, though.
And I also think that the real narrative here coming into Worlds was, it wasn't that, I mean, we all knew the meta was bad in summer for T1. We knew that. But that wasn't the biggest concern, because we knew the meta was going to shift. It probably would be better for them for Worlds, and indeed it has been. The problem is that T1 themselves looked uncoordinated. They looked like they weren't following their own shot calls. They looked like they had really muddy comms, which hasn't been true of them. So I think the more disturbing thing was not necessarily the meta was against them. It was the fact that they did not appear to have the same level of teamwork polish coming into this event. And they were literally 1 game away from not even being at Worlds. Yeah. Okay, because of that. So I think a lot of people who were doubting them, and look, I said, I also think T1 is going to do very well at Worlds. I thought they would make top 8, definitely, because they do, like I've said, they have made top 3 at every single tournament. Like they tend to peak at the right times. And so I had confidence that with the break, with the fact that it was Worlds, with the fact that they've done very well in these elimination brackets, that we would actually be seeing them. Did I think they'd make finals? No, I didn't. I think they probably, I thought they
could.
I mean, no, not reasonably.
Totally reasonable, yeah.
So I think when we look at T1's performance, this is clearly an excellent performance by them. And like I said, we'll talk about each of the games individually in a little bit here. But this has been a big glow up. And I think we would have said the same thing about last Worlds. They didn't look great in Swiss stage. They were not the favorites coming into the bracket stage of Worlds, and they still managed in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals to look better and better and better, and then dominate the rest of the event. So it could be something similar that we're seeing here today, although I think beating BLG is going to be difficult. However, the mismatch in the bottom lane between On and Keria's performance, I think, does tip me a little bit in favor of T1 here. So, this has been a great run for T1, but it's not. I think what's frustrating for people who actually watch the regions is that I don't think anybody who really actually watches LCK is out there spewing this nonsense about T1 and Faker. And that's what's so annoying, is that these T1 fans always are out there spewing bullshit. And I don't even think they're T1 fans. I think they literally just don't watch League of Legends for 95% of the year and then come in and just yell, Faker's the GOAT at Worlds, and then disappear again. Because I don't see how you could watch LCK and have these opinions.
It does feel like it's become like a weird status thing where like the joke is, it's like you're wearing a t-shirt, like the classic Ramones t-shirt, but you just bought it in like the outlet store that just makes them mass produce. And you were like, I'm not really following the Ramones. You think just popular every world's going, I think Faker's the GOAT. It's like, what a milk toast opinion. What the fuck? That's, really, almost every person in the world agrees with you. Like, it's not even a take. No, I know what you mean. It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit weird.
Yeah, and I think these T1 fans, for the most part, the reason why there were so many fucking trucks being sent to the LCK was because T1 fans were mad about T1's shit performance a lot of the times, guys. Riddle me this, T1 fans. Why were you guys sending trucks if T1 is so fucking good? Imagine if you idiots had gotten your way and replaced people or the coaches on this T1 roster. You know what I mean? Imagine if you had gotten your way. T1 fans, aren't you the real idiots for trucking your own team?
Remember, Faker was so stressed he was smashing his head off a wall, for fuck's sake. By your logic, guys, that was like some Kaiser Soze, Kevin Spacey shit where he was pretending to be emotionally distressed. And then what he did, Monty, was the second he walked out of that studio, he came out like, oh, they stood up like,
fooled them.
Marks. They don't even know my Kikaku. Translate, it's not Kikaku means plant. Fake has plant. Get me the fuck out. You know what's sad? I realised, Monty, our mistake is this. We are just old men yelling at clouds of Zoomers at this point in time.
No, we're old men yelling at clowns, Thorin. There's a difference.
What we need to do is this. We actually just need to embrace it and lean into it, because the obvious real solution would be to just do like the hyper narrative, like skit of what it's like when Faker wins Worlds, and it's like, you know, oh, Stewie would. We should just do a one where it's like we act like the whole world's T1 stands, and we all just claim it's going to happen, you know. That would be the better angle to make fun of it, you know, because I feel like every year it's just us complaining, like, they've done it again. Faker fans can't keep getting away with it. They can't keep getting away with it.
The reason why we sound annoyed, guys, is because it is annoying from a sports analyst perspective that this keeps happening, because you want to see Chovy have that transcendent Worlds performance. You want to see GenG and BLG, who totally dominated their domestic regions, look untouchable and then hit each other in the finals in some ultra banger that it feels like this entire year has been leading up to. Like, basically, all of us who have been actually watching League of Legends in this year have been engaging in an incredible act of foreplay for the last 9 months. And here comes Faker and just blue balls you at the last second. It's fucking annoying.
This analogy, are you ready, Monty? When I give this analogy, like, look, all the T1 fans won't be listening, but a sane person, this might actually cause them to have a true epiphany. Imagine this, Monty. Imagine, like, I could use you, but I could use Dom as well. Everyone knows Dom co-streams all the games. Imagine someone like you or Dom as someone who's actually like a food elitist. You're a connoisseur. You're someone who wants like you're a true foodie. You want the best quality, best prepared, best recipes, best ingredients. Now imagine that person, Monty, their whole life is obsessed with food and culinary pursuits and tastes and experiences. Right? That person, if they go to a restaurant that used to be the best restaurant in town, and they go there and they go, I'll order like the chef's special, I'll get that order. And it comes along and it's just like bang average. It's just like, you know, fucking ballpark franks and beans, you know, and you're like, what happened to this place? It used to be like foie gras and fucking, you know, filet mignon. And then what happens is, Monty, are you ready? So you go to this restaurant every fucking week, the whole year, because it's one of the best restaurants, and your job is to review food. And every time you go the whole year, you know what? There's sometimes in the year, Monty, it gets pretty good, but never quite becomes the best. It's still like third, fourth, fifth, you know. And then there's the worst thing is in the summer, actually it's really bad. Like the quality's terrible. Literally, like all the food's just shit. Even loads of people who go there a long time go, look, I'm probably not going to come again. I think they've lost their way, you know. Then all of a sudden, are you ready? In October, they have this 2-week period where for some reason, who knows what's going on with the head chef, he cracks on and he starts making straight fire food again, Monty. When you then go to that restaurant, in this analogy, you are Dom, and you taste the food and it's incredible. It's what you wish it was the whole year. Are you ready for how a T1 fan would explain what you just did? You're a piece of shit, jealous liar who lied the whole year that the food was shit in the restaurant. You want the food to be shit in the restaurant. Now that the food's really nice, you don't get to say it's nice. In fact, you don't get to enjoy the food being nice now, even though your whole life's about nice food. You have to just admit you were wrong, and actually the bad food the whole year was amazing, was the best food ever eaten. Do you see how it's said in that fucking scenario is? It's actually, because I hope the point I made that people get the epiphany on there is Dom wants fucking worlds to be good from T1, you shitheads. He also wanted, guess what? Here's my question to every T1 fan. How was the LCK summer final, dickhead? You weren't in it. By your own logic, if you're the greatest team of all time, shouldn't we want to see you in that final? To see you play against GenG? To see you win? Like, but here's the thing they still don't get, Monty. We all fucking love Faker, you cretins. We have never disliked Faker for 1 second in our lives. Do you know who we dislike? You, Faker fans, not Faker, you, dickhead fans of Faker. I despise you because you took one of the best things in League of Legends, exaggerated it beyond all belief, and have pretended like when it was at its worst, it was at its best. You're a fucking moron. You are the guy who's going like, but ballpark Franks and Beans, that's just as good as filet mignon, Thorin. It isn't, and you're a cretin for thinking so. And when it then becomes filet mignon again, you don't win because you said it was good when it was ballpark Franks. I'm right. I win in that scenario, and when it's ballpark Franks, and everyone who's an expert in the league. There you go. That's my right.
I love that.
That's a good analogy, though. That's a pretty good analogy. Because, by the way, the worst one, they can say about me and you, Monty, because we've had 1 million fans we hate on for 10 years. People like Dom, genuinely, he would love it if Faker actually was Chovy bro and just every fucking day of LCK was the best. Who wouldn't love that? It would be amazing. It's not true, is it? It's not true.
Well,
and
guys,
I don't blame people like Dom when they get frustrated at bad performances. Of course, it's underwhelming.
This is also an excellent time to mention that if you would like good food delivered to your house, much like GenG, if you were paying attention, has been delivering amazing meals to you all summer with almost record-breaking, with basically record-breaking results, only losing, 3 games all split, then you could go to Factor. That's right, guys. Pick up your Factor meals. And they also have gourmet plus meals that may satiate you with fine cuisine. But they also have keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, any kind of lifestyle, 35 different meals every week. And of course, they rotate them. So you get new things coming in for you to try. What happens with Factor is they bring you fresh, never frozen, fully cooked meals right to your doorstep. All you have to do is pop them in the microwave for a couple minutes and they are ready to eat. They are dietitian approved. So you get good nutrition. They are probably going to be better for you than the stuff you would choose to order from takeout anyway, and they will most certainly be cheaper as well. Comes to you every week in a big cardboard box that's nice and cold, has cold ice packs in there to get everything nice and cool and fresh. Pop them into your refrigerator, and then all you have to do is just heat them up. So make a good decision. Head on over to factormeals.com/LFN50 and use code LFN50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code LFN50 at factormeals.com/LFN50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. And you too can be well fed as you would have been watching the quality of League of Legends from the best teams in LPL and LCK, of which T1 was not one. And barely, in fact, almost
they are now. That's what's interesting.
And they are now. So now you can enjoy a fine T1 meal, as we all are, because I thought T1 played very well, actually, in this semifinal. I thought it was a great performance. But just because I acknowledge that this T1 meal that I received was delicious doesn't mean I'm going to acknowledge that the meals I received all year were very delicious, because unlike Factor, they were not. So thank you very much to Factor. Again, supporting our sponsors. Best way to support us here.
Anyone who used it as well.
Yeah. Sure you guys are enjoying it.
I've had it before. It's delicious. Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of comments from you guys. So thank you very much. I look forward to hopping back on the Factor wagon when I'm back in the States. All right, guys. we will talk about all of the individual games, but I do want to hit on the major news first of the new LCK format, Thorin, because that just dropped, if you guys didn't see it. Now, they are going to have to, obviously, switch up everything because they're trying to add this new first international event into the timeline. So we're not having the galactically boring, spring and summer splits only. And as I suspected, Thorin, with the timing of when they announced that first international event, because there's only basically like a month before that happens into the season, they are going to be doing the LCK Cup, which is a lot like the LCS.
That's my cup.
Yes, the Kespa Cup, the LCS lock-in tournament, which is what I suspected it would be like. Yep. So there are going to be, that's what's going to kick off the year at the kind of mid-January. It looks like from the calendar and also just from typically when they play, the new season of League of Legends. So basically, Thorin, and we'll have to educate people who are not familiar with this, there are the top two teams from the previous season, so that would be, in this case, GenG and Hanwha Life, will each select a team of their choice. So there's two groups. And guess what they're doing, Thorin? They're doing a group selection process, just like the old MSL format. Yeah. Would you like to explain this to people? Because this is a good piece of esports history. Because it's actually a StarCraft Brood War format that they're going to be using.
I mean, the interesting thing, if people don't know, is in StarCraft Brood War in Korea for about 10 years, there was two major individual competitions. One was the OSL, so that's on GameNet, which obviously later became LCK in League of Legends. But the other one was the MSL, which was another TV station, basically. And the difference was the OSL just did a traditional, randomized group draw where you just pick people out and they get put in groups. But what the MSL realized is, because they weren't the biggest one, it's actually a lesson for esports in general, by the way, if you ever have to compete. You know that famous concept, Monty, that says that, usually it's actually the worst product that has to spend more on advertising, because that's how you make up the gap, by selling people on some other angle. Basically, what MSL realized was, since OSL was the more prestigious tournament, they just did changes to their format that just made it a better tournament, basically. So, for example, they had best of fives in their whole playoffs. They had reseeding in their playoffs. So what happened is, in the MSL, famously, number one and number two met in the finals a million times because the tournament was set up like that. Well, another thing they did that they realized was more exciting to fans is, if people prefer the other tournament because it's more prestigious, then what you need to do in yours is make more drama and narrative. So what they did was, by allowing people who are top seeds, I believe in their system it was a reverse draft. You started at the bottom and people moved themselves around groups, and the idea was that top seeds had multiple moves. They could do stuff like put themselves into a group and then move someone else or something like that. And so what they did was, like we did on Flashpoint, if people ever saw in CS, they did a group selection system where what you basically encourage is, as people are making these moves, I put myself in group B and then I move this team to play you in group D. What you do is you have people on the mic say why they're doing it. And if you do a good job, you make all these straight fire narratives. I will say it is technically compromising competitive integrity. It's not a traditional tournament, because obviously you can actually have groups, and this is where it gets straight fire, where you either make it easy or you make it hard. So famously, back in the day, what they would even do is, in the StarCraft tournament, they would have players almost beseeching some feudal lord, ask the top seeds to change their group or whatever, and so they'd all be Hyun, please put me into group B because I prefer to play Protoss players and I will show good games. And then what was straight fire was, there were times where, when people trash talked, people did just make groups of death. What you do is, if you're at the top seed, at the very end, you just say, well, fuck this guy who's my rival, and you put him say in StarCraft, he's a fucking Protoss player, which is always weak to Zerg, if people don't know. You just put him in the group with 3 Zergs, there you go, fuckface, enjoy that. And the reason it's sick is because, as you're implying here, it just makes it extra narratives automatically form around the event. So this could be awesome, yeah.
Because it would go like this, guys. So basically, GenG and Hanwha are in opposite groups, and then GenG picks, I don't know, Nongshim, right? And then Hanwha picks Brion, and then Nongshim has to pick the next team for that group. So they kind of just go in order. And hopefully, like you're saying, Thorin, basically we engineered this when we did Flashpoint so that there were rules about how you could flip teams into different groups and have the players on stage. Also, famously in the MSL, there were these group selection ceremonies where the players would just do ridiculous shit. They would come out pretending to be drunk, or they would do you guys can look this up.
My favorite one is, sometimes people would just come in different outfits. There's one, you can look it up.
Costume.
There's one where the player Fantasy, who's actually a coach in League of Legends now, if people don't know, came to the venue, and because his nickname was the Terrorist, he came dressed as Osama bin Laden. That's real. That happened. Because you have to realise, like, they culturally don't know what that means. So I thought that was wild in person when I saw it back in the day, Monty. But okay, pretty edgy. Pretty edgy. I'll give him that. It's wild, isn't it? Otherwise, that mental.
So, yeah, this could be, if it's done right.
Monty, that's actually even crazier than I realised when you consider that the whole reason why South Korea exists is because the US has a massive military base there. Like, that's actually even more crazy that you did that fantasy. That's actually nuts,
so, if they do this right, this could actually be very entertaining because players would have these personas or they'd have costumes and come out and like draw the players. And it was sort of like WWE ring entrances a lot of the time, where they actually had like velvet curtains and, pretty girls drawing back the curtains and escorting them down the red carpet. It was very fun, guys. It was very fun. So I think you could make something super entertaining over the group stage selection for this tournament. That would be really fun. So I am hopeful that we're going to see something like that. So basically what happens is mid-January, we get this. It goes all the way until the end of February. So this lasts about 6 weeks. And what it is, Thorin, is it's full fearless draft. So what that means is both champions picked from the previous game and all champions picked from the previous game will be banned in the next game. So if you go into a best of 5, by the 5th game of a best of 5, 50 champions will actually be banned in this game because you have the 10 bans in the 5th game, plus you have the 20 champions per team that were played in the previous 4 games. So this is actually full fearless. There is going to be a lot of depth to this. Now, I'm not a fan of this so much, but I understand that many people do want to see something crazy happen and have some spice in these games. Spoiler, guys, I think it's actually going to be pretty bad for the West to do this because turns out, maybe playing a few strong champions is better for Western teams rather than having to dig deep into a variety of like weird comps or kind of niche picks. Because I tell you what, guys, that format's not going to be a problem for a player like Canyon. But you know what? It's probably going to be a problem for a lot of Western junglers or mid laners, right? So I don't think you actually want that, but we'll see. We'll see what you get. And then, so basically that will feed into the first international event, which is happening at the beginning of March. Then we go into before MSI. MSI looks like it's going to be moved back into like late June and early July, which Riot has already said. So it was typically in May in the past. And so the LCK regular season is now being split into round 1 through 5. So rounds 1 and 2 are going to be played as part of this LCK regular season.
What's weird is EWC was in early July. So
I know it's weird, but it's okay. Don't worry. Chris Greeley has told me that it's definitely not. MSI is definitely not happening in Riyadh. Definitely not. So
definitely not. MSI TM will be held in. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, you have to be like a lawyer to figure out what these guys are saying. I love it.
And also, where does EWC fit into all of this? Because the teams will definitely want to go to EWC because they receive a fuck ton of money from the Saudi Arabian government. And some of those teams, like GenG, are starting up their very cool Saudi Arabian offices. So they'll need to get their teams out there for that. Good old partner teams in Korea like T1 and GenG.
This is where the actual only thing holding back true evil in the world is actually like the minor actions of good people like the Hobbit or something, Monty. Because you know what I've realized is if I actually ever go evil, I could be like Saruman, mate. I could just help Sauron get more powerful. Because you know what I would do? I would just tell Mohammed bin Salman, mate, all you do literally is second T1 wins worlds. You just tweet out like, there's my goat and do that goat symbol. And you will get like 1 million likes on that tweet. Even though, by the way, in this scenario, you yourself lead a regime that literally kills people and does like insane oppressive things. Every dickhead fan in League of Legends will like that tweet. You know, the same people are like, oh my God, is EMC playing Among Us on Twitch? Like, that sort of fan will like the fuck out of a tweet from someone who's like literally potentially killing people.
It's okay because the way that the internet works now, Thorin, is you basically just use SEO to wash yourself of all of your old sins. So like our good friend over at EG, Nicole LaPointe Jameson, when she got in deep shit, she decided to start making websites for herself that had a good SEO. So when you Googled her, it wouldn't be the negative stuff. It would be her website with a bunch of bullshit that didn't happen on it and glowing reviews of her work. And then Thorin, that didn't even work out. So she actually just changed her name. She actually just straight up changed her name. So Nicole Prim, if you guys were wondering, just straight up just changed it because all the negative, turns out she didn't really want to take responsibility for any of the things, heinous shit that she did. So this all leads into my next thing, which is definitely, by the way, MBS's
also,
next...
by the way, the insane irony of her surname being Prim now, Monty. If people don't understand, the actual dictionary definition of the word prim is feeling or showing disapproval of anything regarded as improper. Although people can't call themselves that, it would be you. Unless, Monty, the idea is, like Gandalf, she's gone away as Gandalf the Great. She's come back as Gandalf the White. Before, she was Nicole, not Prim at all. She was actually the person doing it. But now she's born again and she's realized she was wrong. So she's come back to preach. She's basically like when Paul Atreides came back as like the preacher in the desert, preaching against Muad'Dib's like prophecy. That's what she's doing now, buddy. It's all good. It's all going to work out.
So what I think MBS is going to do is at the next Esports World Cup, because Mbesso is just released, he's going to issue a bunch of press releases that say MBS loves League of Legends and his favorite champion is Mbesso because he loves the public execution.
Yes.
And therefore he'll manipulate all the search rankings into public execution to it not being about Saudi Arabia. It'll just be about Mbesso.
One, that could be real. And then two, the joke is he loves that champion so much he spams their ultimate on cooldown. He buffers it.
It's so dark.
By the way, that's the saddest part, Monty, is like we should be the arseholes for joking about this until you realise, no, actually the arseholes are the people murdering people. You know what I mean? Like, what even is this?
And also the people who are actively doing PR for the people murdering people.
Weird, isn't it?
What a great time to be in esports, guys. What a great time to be in esports. So there you go.
By the way,
before that actually happens.
I'm going to start becoming evil in another way, which is I'm just going to start making all these people short circuit their own conversations. So you know that conversation, I won't go into it, recently about what makes you British. Just ask them what makes you Saudi Arabian. What do you think about their country? Because here's the thing, I imagine magically they won't have an opinion anymore, bro. They magically, all those ideas, those lofty ideas, because they're all acting on Twitter like they're fucking David Hume or something, having like some philosophical discussion. Like, you just fucking shit portion, you idiots. You idiots.
I also can't wait for Mbesso to be used and one of the casters at EWC just to scream, and there's the public execution, and the crowd's like, yay!
Mad in it.
What a world.
Bro, here's what I actually need, Monty, because this is the clown world we now live in, bro. We're about this close to Team Liquid bragging that next year the people at Riot are going to allow them to use pride skins in the game. And are you ready, Monty? Someone in a game of League of Legends at DWC will have a character with a pride skin executed publicly. Right? That's how pathetically on the nose the satire of this world is at this point in time. Like, you can't even parody it. It's beyond parody, guys. It's actually beyond parody.
It's its own satire.
Even though you go, that seems a bit on the nose, you've just executed a gay person. Then the joke is someone like Frankie goes, they can drive though. There you go, that's it. And then they go, and you're right, Frankie. And so it's over to our Kia segment of the day. And then they just MBS driving in a Kia, like, all right, you take the wheel off. Oh, I'm just going to execute a few people in game, of course. He winks to the camera, Monty. In game, of course. Ding.
In Minecraft.
I know, it's not, isn't it? I mean, the obvious joke there should be, didn't they make a character that was MBS in game? The ultimate is public execution. There's a million fucking. The jokes write themselves. The jokes write themselves, man.
It's outrageous, man. It's outrageous. What a time to be alive. So yeah, basically back to this. MSI.
Yes.
So MSI is happening suspiciously again. Because we have this calendar that LCK released, so I assume that the 12 months out of the year are the numbers 1 through 12 that they have listed on this new graphic. And also Riot has said that it's taking place in early July. I don't, conveniently, Thorin, I actually don't see a spot for the EWC here unless there is some, like, teams are planning on putting it in the window after MSI, but before the start of summer, which would be like a really fucking weird time to do it. Or again, we could just be having an EWC break in the middle of summer. That's a possibility again.
Instead of a werewolf break, we get an EWC
instead of a werewolf break.
There you go.
It's just a different kind of evil, menacing evil is filling that space. Yeah. So the rounds 1 and 2 of the LCK regular season are still being played in the double round robin format, which I'm not sure how that's going to work, Thorin, because it is much shorter time period. They are actually trying to squeeze this into like a 2-month time period, whereas one of these tournaments usually takes like 3.5 months, 4 months long. So one LCK spring or summer split. So I don't know if that means that they're going to do 3 best of 3 some days. I don't know if that means they're going to expand from broadcasting 5 days a week to 7 days a week, like LPL does during that time period, because I have no idea how in 2 months they're going to get done with 2 double round robins, right? But they're doing that again. So it says they'll follow the same exact format. The top 6 teams will move to the MSI qualifier. So they're going to do a playoff bracket, but it's going to be called the MSI qualifiers because the new thing is the regular season now just has 1 winner. So there is no spring and there is no summer champion. There is only the winner at the very end before Worlds. There's a winner of the LCK Cup, and then there's a winner of this 2-part season that is split in half by MSI. Okay?
I'll just be back in 1 second. Keep going. I'll be in 1 second.
Yeah. Then they get to MSI, right? And we get to MSI, they finish MSI, then they go back to the LCK regular season where rounds 3 through 5 and the playoffs happen. Now, rounds 3 through 5 are basically what the LPL summer format was in spirit. So by that I mean, if you basically, after the results of rounds 1 and 2, so after they play the double round robin, the top 5 teams are put into one group called Legend, and the bottom 5 teams are put into one group called Rise. Just like in LPL, they got split into the
Ascended Nirvana, I think
Ascended Nirvana groups, right? So it's basically the good group and the bad group, which is awesome because I just want to see more games between all the top 5 teams. This is great. Love it. So the Legend group and the Rise group are based on the seedings of everybody before MSI at the end of the double round robin. They compete separately for the remainder of the season. So they do not face each other in 2 groups, just like in LPL summer. After the round 5, we have the playoff teams. The top 4 teams in the good group, the Legend group, go to playoffs. Then the top 3 teams of the Rise group, the bad group, plus the 5th place team in the Legend group all compete for the last LCK playoff spots, okay? So that means that the playoffs are actually going to be determined. I believe there should be 6 spots, I guess. Yes. Okay, so there should probably be 6 spots.
Like a double elim, I imagine.
Yeah. So it'll probably be of those 4 teams, the 5th place team in the good group and the top 3 teams in the bad group. They'll probably compete for 2 slots. Then we have the 6 teams going to LCK playoffs. They don't specify that, but I assume that's how that works. This also, Thorin, pushes Worlds back into mid-October. So this year it started in late September, which was actually very early for Worlds historically. This pushes the start of Worlds back into mid-October, and that means the end of Worlds is actually in mid-November now, instead of it starting late September and ending in early November. So Worlds looks like it's going to be the exact same amount of time, which means, by the way, guys, probably not a format change, sadly. Unless they finally figured out how to schedule more games into the final 3 weeks of Worlds competition, because they could easily run a double elimination bracket, obviously, because they can run MSI in a shorter amount of time. But, I mean, Riot is incredibly stupid, so I don't think they're going to do that. But this is actually a very interesting format because we get Fearless Draft Tournament, into International Event, into Double Round Robin, into MSI, and then into basically the meat of the season is actually going to be the Legend group, probably, where you won't have to watch all these garbage matchups which were plaguing the LCK if you were a fan of LCK, and we're just going to get bangers like we did in LPL summer this year. So I'm a big fan of these changes. What are your thoughts?
I mean, some of them I like, but like, for example, if you look, what they've basically done is there is no spring split now. Instead, you just get this regional showdown to see who goes to MSI. The problem with that is that's a move I don't like because in general, I've told you I prefer sports where you have like multiple chances like tennis to win over a year. I actually don't like it where there's like one championship. And if you fuck up the one championship, your whole year's moot, you know, in this scenario. So I do think the downside of that is I liked having 2 splits. I mean, the joke is I actually liked it when you used to have the 3 splits in OGN and it was champions back in the day. So because that just means if you are people like Faker, Chovy, etc., we're not talking about how many years did you win. It's like how many titles did you win? Like Faker has 10 if people don't know. Chovy has what, like 5 or something. So no, I actually did think it was that part I'm not as big a fan of. The other problem I have is this is like the LCK Cup part, for example. I actually have a prediction for you, Monty. I think I don't even think it will take that long. I'll say in 3 years from now, everyone will agree with me. Fearless Draft is a waste of everyone's time. Like, I think it'll take a couple of years to play out, but I think people realize it. I think the problem is if you say, do I want to see a cup? Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. The LCK Cup sounds dope. Fearless Draft. Why? Why? Like 90% of the interesting conversations in a draft are like, will they run this back or will they pick this thing we all know they play? Not like, what is the 8th champion they can play here? You know what I mean? Like that. So unfortunately, the Fearless Draft part I think is going to make that not as fun as people think.
So,
and then I don't mind the rest of it though. Like, by the way, I think the part about the Summers thing, like LPL, is way better. Like, it just means you can just watch the top group, the Legends group. You don't have to watch the shitter group, do you?
So the other problem with full Fearless Draft, Thorin, is that I think there are reasonable concerns that a team is just going to pick shit comps just to eliminate picks for the rest of the draft. Like, basically,
you can sabotage the draft, basically, right?
Because when all of the champions get banned moving forward, right? And we're talking about 40 different champions being banned coming into a game 5, and then 10 more bans, 5 per team, happening within game 5. The problem with this is if a team literally just wants to sacrifice a game to get rid of all of an enemy team's good picks that may not even be good for the team that is playing them, but just to basically, you're like, well, we're just going to intentionally lose this game. If we win, we win. That's cool. But in doing so, we are going to make sure that all of your good champions or all your pocket picks are just out for the rest of the draft. I think this is an incredibly negative strategy for League of Legends, because we watch this game because we want to, like, I don't want to see Knight not playing Syndra in a Syndra meta. You know what I mean? I don't want to see, or Chovy not playing Ahri in a great Ahri meta. I don't want to see Zeka not playing Akali or Sylas in an Akali or Sylas meta. But the fact is that these saboteurs, these like attempts at sabotage can happen, and we basically will never ever get to see some players play their best champions potentially, which is shit. Like, it's a bummer, right? And I think you have to be very careful with that, because the fans are coming there to see the apex of professional play. And my opinion is that this is a sacrifice of peak potential for an artificial sense of champion diversity. And the real way we should be getting champion diversity is through balance. Like, this is basically a capitulation that the balance of this game at the professional level is insufficient. It's inadequate. And it's an admission by Riot that they are balancing it's an admission of one or two things. They either can't balance this game properly and are incompetent at balancing, or that they're balancing this game for casuals and refuse to do that for the professional scene. So they are just introducing artificial volatility. And I also think it is deeply unfair to the professional players who have made a career out of being professional players to suddenly change what you are evaluating about them. Previously, it was enough to be good on 5 or 6 high-level picks, and you could actually just make a career that way. You could change which picks you were practicing at any given time. That is going to be very, very difficult to do in Fearless Draft. And you are basically saying that playing a wider champion pool, you are changing the test of being a pro gamer from playing the picks you need to play at a high level, but maybe not being able to play 10 champions at an adequate level at all times. And you're saying, oh, wait, now you have to do this, which is different than every other thing you've been tested at previously for being a professional player. So I think it's just bad.
Basically, as you say, the level will be worse because you're encouraging people to be a jack of all trades instead of a specialist.
Yeah. And
like, I'll give you an example, Monty. I'm not the biggest Gumayushi fan ever, but I do think it's dope that at all times he has that Caitlyn available. It doesn't matter even if it's in the meta. Yes. If you give him that champion, he will probably have a sick game on it. So that, like, if anything, like, I would never get him to see him play. I'd get him to see him play once in a million years. That'd be it.
Yeah. I mean, the counter argument is that maybe he busted out more if all of these other champions are not available. Just be
worse on him. Come on, he's trying. He's fucking Korean. He's playing 1 billion hours. Like, this is what I don't get about it, Monty. You know, the most insulting thing about the concept of Fearless Draft is it was so obviously thought up by some dickhead Westerner, because nobody who actually knows Chinese or Korean League of Legends would ever have the audacity to suggest players that are playing 14 hours a day just haven't tried to learn enough of the champions. It's an insane fucking premise, Monty. Well, like, I'm supposed to believe Kerry just doesn't want to be able to play 70 champions. Of course he does. It's impossible. He can't be good on that many at once.
Also,
he's doing his best, guys. He's doing his best.
I think there is literally no problem at the highest level of League of Legends with lack of excitement or champion diversity.
Sick. Like, dude, that series we just saw with Straight Fire also in the draft. Like, it was incredible. You couldn't wait to see what was coming out next or what angle they're going to take, or did they get baited into something? It was sick.
Yeah, it's
it was
like
actual chess
Carrier's pulling out the pike.
Good.
I mean, think about the number of times we've seen Lehens pull out the Blitzcrank or the Sin.
Even Faker taking fucking Yone, bro. That was Straight Fire draft.
Yeah, so I don't think we're having like champion diversity problems between very good teams. What happens is that bad teams will just play the most boring meta picks over and over and over again. Bad teams will do that. And they won't be innovative and they won't debut new things in high pressure matches. But that really is not what we see in high stakes international competition in League of Legends. It's just not what we see. Like, Canyon's a great Nidalee player. He's been one of the only players at Worlds, like, and in the late season picking this up. We know he's a threat on it. Like you say, the Caitlyn from Gumayushi. Faker pulling out a Kali was a little bit of a surprise you hear, and he had a very good game on it. So I just don't like, this is solving for a problem that needs to be solved in other ways, and that frankly shouldn't even exist, but Riot refuses to balance this game around the professional level or is incapable of doing so. Those are the only two options. And I don't like those options because I care about the professional game more than I care about what fucking morons in solo queue are playing. And I would rather the champion diversity come from actual game balance rather than these artificial means. And I have real concerns about not being able to watch players play at their absolute best on their best champions because this format allows them either to only play it once or not at all. Or not at all. Like, it's just bad that these players may not, in a best of 5, be able to play on their best champions. Like, that is shit. Why do you want to watch that? Like, what are we watching the professional scene for? So, no, I'm not a fan. You know, partial Fearless Draft, Thorin, where if you play it once, it gets banned, is better. But the full Fearless, where if the other team plays it, it's banned for you also, is bad.
People. This will shock people, but if you go onto Twitter, it's implied LS himself doesn't like Fearless Draft. Everyone would think he must love it, right? He must be the guy who loves it. Bro, he even made a point, I think, about what you're referring to, which is even in the scenario you're talking about. Do you know what you'll almost certainly get? LS made this point on his Twitter. You can go have a look. It's very recent. He made the point that, like, yeah, obviously you can't run the same lineup back, but what'll happen is teams will just play like the other guy played last game. You know what I mean? Like, if you play a comp, like, but then, like, one champion, like, you can't pick it again, but then I'll just pick a variant of your comp. That'll be one of the tweaks to get around it, you know, like, agitate your comp, but with a Nidalee as the jungler instead or something like that, you know, like, so it won't even solve the problem anyway. Like, as you say, the real problem is it's enforced diversity. Like, it's just artificially propped up. Like, you're not actually, here's what you're not doing, Monty, which is annoying. You're not doing what you're pretending to do, which is make a format that incentivizes picking other champions. You're making it so that the person's forced to pick other champions. Do you see the difference there? If you incentivize people, by the way, and it helps them win the game, they will do it. But I don't know what that would be. I mean, it'd probably have to be something like more bans or something mad like that, you know, like more, like 8 bans or something.
And when you have Fearless, where if you win on a champion, it's banned, that actually makes more sense. If you pick it and you win, then it can be banned. If you pick it and you lose, you can pick it again. That will make actually more. Look, I think that makes artificial competition because basically it gives a worse team more cracks at having their best champions, and it probably would create more like 5-game series as a result. But the way this is being done is it basically allows teams to be draft terrorists and like take hostages. And I really just don't like that. And I think teams will try this because I think it is potentially a valid strategy in a lot of these cases. I mean, look, for example, look at the BLG versus Weibo series that we just watched this week, guys. Imagine if Weibo just takes Jax and Skarner in one game and then, you know, BLG just doesn't get to play them anymore. Right? Are we happy that we don't get to watch more games of Bin's Jax? I always want to see that. I always want to see more Bin Jax.
Make it any signature champion. Go Chovy on Ari, Faker on fucking Oriana or Zay. Imagine they could only play this once in the series. It'd be whack. It actually would.
Yeah. So, look, this is also just an experiment. It's only going to be happening at the start of the season. But my fear is that people are going to just like, dogpile this format, love it, basically, and then it's just going to become all that League of Legends is. And I think it's very, very bad for elite competition. And it doesn't make sense. So maybe people will be hyped by it at first, but like you say, Thorin, over a long enough period of time, I hope that this doesn't become it, or we see a more limited version of Fearless, because the full Fearless, I think, is really quite terrible. But yeah, other than that, I love the fact that they're changing it into the 2 group system for summer. That feels really good. MSI's format is still really good. Having another international event on the calendar is still going to be probably pretty good overall.
By the way, I also feel like, just like LPL, this will surely channel the viewership so more people watch good LCK games in this case. Because basically, I do get that one angle. If someone just used to pull up Gamepedia every week and go, they're just playing Fear X.
There's like 2 or 3 good series every week of LCK. It's bad. There's 10 matches. There's 10 best of 3s, and like 20% of them are good.
The LPL system did work, because the second they got to that group, that top group, I think it was the Ascend one. I think Ascend was the top one. That was straight fire. Like, that was almost all banger games. Yeah,
it was very really good. So I do agree. I think this format makes a lot more sense.
I like that.
It also, I think, divides the group in the right way, because typically there's like there's basically like 4 good LCK teams at any point in time and 1 like kind of okay one. I think the issue, though, is that, I mean, clearly they try and deal with this at the end by allowing the top 3 teams from the bottom group to get into, a potential playoff like tiebreaker, basically, a play-in for the playoffs. But it does make it, because this happens over so long. The problem is really the meta shifts from League of Legends take a really, they go up and down a lot. So basically you're qualifying for the 2 group system, the Legend and Rise groups, at the end of May and early June, but you're not actually playing in those groups until after MSI in late July or early August, after probably, 4 or 5 patches have passed. And that feels really bad, because if the meta changes entirely, you might have some really bad, really bad teams in the good group and good teams in the bad group, based on the meta swaps. So, that is kind of a problem. This format would make a lot more sense if we had a more static meta throughout the year. But because Riot does massive changes every couple of weeks, it does make it difficult to run these more long-term formats. And like you say, the elimination of having a spring champion is, also contributes to that. And one thing that I think people haven't realized about this format...
Just run it back in your mind. Imagine every year a league, but only the summer champion got to win LCK. It changed history completely, yeah.
Also, Thorin, there's also, of course, because it's Riot, there is a very insidious implication in this format. And that insidious implication is they changed spring playoffs to MSI qualifiers. Now, what do you think that means about spring finals? That's right. It's going to be in the LCK studio, guys. I told you this was happening. I told you they were going to kill the spring stadium event. They will kill it, because they are saying now it's 1 season. They're doing this language very deliberately. They do not have to make this 1 season. There's actually no reason why they have to say this is 1 season split in the middle by MSI. They could just keep calling it spring and summer, and they could say spring qualifies you to the 2 groups in summer system, because we could just use that format. Who cares, right? The reason they're doing this is because they're changing the language around MSI qualifiers to say you will not get a stadium event in spring. That is what they're saying. That is going to be first thing off the on the chopping block.
Was the one you were at, Monty. It was the banger one. It was the fucking it was the T1 versus GenG one. If everyone remembers that fucking insane series, that was this spring. So we're not going to have that.
I hope so.
In the studio.
Look, that's
going to fucking.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about that. So we'll see about those MSI ones and whether they're actually going to be putting that in an arena event. I would love for that to be true. But I have been suspicious about Riot doing these things for a while now, right? So I hope it's not. I hope it's not that. So let's see here. Apparently Kespa has said, I'm looking at it now, Kespa has put out a Korean tweet saying that they are asking for cities to host the MSI LCK representative selection tournament. So hopefully Kespa does something with that. We'll hope that's true. So they're courting cities in Korea to do that. So hopefully Kespa will do that. I really, and like you say, Thorin, I was at the spring finals between T1 and GenG this year, and it was great. So I really hope, especially in Korea, that we don't lose the 2 stadium events per year, because they're always so hype. I think it's a core part of the Korean esports culture. They certainly are not having problems selling it out. It was filled to the rafters with like 20,000 people when I was there, and it was epic. It was really good. So if that is untrue, I will be pleased about that. We'll see if Kespa can come through and actually get a separate city to host it. But also, Thorin, there's a fear too that, Kespa can ask for these things, but if somebody doesn't want to pay for it, will it happen? Like, it's suspicious that they even have to like put out a public tweet saying cities apply, as if there's an opportunity for them not to do it, right? So we'll hope. We'll hope that's true. We'll hope that's true. So that's the LCK format news, guys. It has been really...
The joke there is, because nowadays T1 doesn't even win domestically. They just make it so there's only one tournament they have to win or lose now. It was looking bad because they lost 2 times this year, Monty. So they obviously, as usual, Riot's rigged towards T1. Rigged as usual. Rigged as usual.
All right. So let's talk about the actual games that went down, shall we? That's a fun one. But before we do that, guys, quick shout out to our sponsor over at Into the AM. Into the AM is a men's apparel company, as you've heard us talk about many times before. They have a fall collection that's out now. Has some jackets to keep you warm, waffle Henleys, like actually great long sleeve stuff. They have unbranded t-shirts. They've got graphic t-shirts, as you guys. They have joggers. They have athletic shorts. They have tank tops. They have hoodies. They have bomber jackets. They have anything. They have, work pants.
There's a million designs. Yeah,
it's crazy how much they've got, guys. They cycle them.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be doing a collaboration with them on a design that's going to be coming out soon. So you guys, if you've checked out our Discord, you've probably seen some of the sketches of that. We actually did have an Into the AM channel where you guys could give that feedback. But the most important thing for you at home right now is that from October 27th through October 31st, which is most likely the window in which you are going to be watching this show, they are doing a site-wide sale of up to 50% off everything. Everything on sale, up to 50% off. And on top of that, if you go to intotheam.com/LFN and you use the code LFN, you will get an additional 10% off, which means that you can get up to, that's right, you can do math, 60% off certain items on the site. So our code always stacks with their sale. So if you see a sale on Into the AM, you can always use our code and just shave off an additional 10%. Not only that, but they offer shipping worldwide, and they offer free shipping to the United States, lots of places in Europe as well. I think also Australia, maybe. You guys can check. They have a whole shipping section on their site where they'll show you the amounts you have to spend in order to get the free shipping. They have a great returns process. Do go ahead and check out they have on their t-shirts, they have like a height and weight grid so you can see what size that you need. They do run just a little bit small, I found, so definitely do check that out. But they make great stuff. They've been an excellent partner with us. So go ahead, check out intotheam.com/LFN during this window, October 27th through 31st. Up to 50% off everything on the site, plus 10% more off with our code LFN. So thank you to Into the AM. Let's dive into some of these games. You want to do BLG versus Weibo first, or the very much anticipated?
Let's just do the GenG one now. There's no point in teasing people. We can talk about the BLG one going to the final.
Sure. So we get this matchup that definitely GenG, in theory, favored going into this, despite T1 obviously having a better quarterfinals performance from GenG. There's an assumption that this is going to be an opportunity for GenG to kind of have a week off, reevaluate everything, make things right. It is very true that against FlyQuest, Pays and Lehens definitely didn't come and play their best League of Legends. Keen was the MVP of that series. Keen had a great performance, I thought, over the course of this series as well. But there were some...
Later, that was a bit weird, that whole Peter Dunn narrative where it was like it was all Keen's fault or something, which is like, what? A bit weird.
I think Keen... So we're jumping forward a little bit, Thorin, but that was about Keen's Poppy play. And you have to remember, Thorin, this was Keen's first Poppy game this year. And it is only his third Poppy game ever
Oh,
professionally.
mate, I'll just tell you the reason why that take was so confusing, because I consider Peter Dunn like a very shrewd guy. It's because, bro, there's even a fight, I swear, in that game where like Kane almost wins an unwinnable fight by like knocking out the perfect.
Yes,
that was what was so weird about why his take was so harsh against it. I know, what a weird take. Okay,
look, he's just tired from having a kid. I totally get that. You're like a zombie half the time from lack of sleep. You know, it's fine.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a decent attempt. Yeah, it's fine.
Like Keen is obviously, you guys know Keen's my favorite active player, but his performance is like his Poppy game, where it's his third professional game ever on Poppy. It's his first game this year. He's playing it into Jax. It's obviously, considered a Jax counter. We saw this a lot in Europe, particularly players, playing the top Poppy. It is a good pick into Jax, but Keen's performance was fucking insane on this champion. He basically wins the Dragon team fight where they ace T1 and take Baron because he plays it just absolutely incredibly, like knocking Faker out of the engagement. He actually like blocks Karia's like ult engage with his W while he's slamming Zeus's Jax into
insane.
the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bonkers. And then he creates, actually, by flashing, he creates the pick onto Faker, which probably should have won them the game if Pays wasn't entirely incompetent and walking up to a Skarner and getting ulted while he still had flash up. Like, make no bones about it, guys. This series, just like the finals that they played against Hanwha, that was on Pays, those finals. That loss was on Pays. This loss on Pays and Lehens, 100%. Like, I think the rest, everybody else was, for the most, like, they were doing their jobs in these games. People love to bag on Chovy because they think that he should just be able to 1v9 these games. Nobody does that anymore, guys. That's actually just not how the game of League of Legends works anymore. If you want to go back and watch what a 1v9 performance looks like, you can go back to the early days of Professional League and watch Faker do it in his first couple of seasons before they literally removed the ability to do that from the game because Faker was dominating so hard. They changed the rules of the game so Faker couldn't do that. Okay.
By the way, even though it was just like a joke, I think they said it on the broadcast, but it was funny though, was, in game 4, when T1 did their own ban of Braum, I think the joke they said on broadcast was a banger. They've just banned out Kerry's own Braum there, because obviously his Braum game was like whatever they said. That was pretty good. Whoever said that on the stream, like it'll have been like Atlas or somebody. It was banger, whatever that joke was.
Well, it's because Kerry domestically has a bad reputation for like flashing into plays on Braum. So it was funny though. I mean, he knows about the dark. Thorin, it's weird. It's almost like you get more value out of having casters who cast the regions, and you get more fun insight and jokes when you have those casters cast the teams they know best. It's a wild take, I know. But anyway, I can't wait for nobody to be on the cast from LPL or LCK for this final. That'll be super cool. It's a classic Riot maneuver. But having Chronicler and Atlas on this, I think, really did make a difference.
Oh, they killed it, yeah.
I think it did make a difference in terms of the actual like knowledge of these teams, having seen so many matchups between these teams over the last few years was very good. It was very good for the quality of the broadcast. But I started being concerned, Thorin, at this in game number 1 when I start seeing these drafts, because we get this Xayah ban. And I'm like, okay, so we're leaving Yone up and we're leaving Skarner and Ashe up. So GenG's surely going to get 2 of these picks, because why would we give Ashe to the best Ashe team in the world in T1? So when they take Yone, GenG will take Skarner Ashe. Surely. Right, guys? Surely. And it's especially good because you banned the Xayah, and we know coming into this that Guma's not good on Ezreal or Kai'Sa. So by taking the Ashe, banning Kalista and Xayah, we're now going to put him onto a weird pick. Maybe as Caitlyn. No, of course we don't do that. We instead take Renekton because they first pick Yone. Maybe they thought T1 wouldn't first pick Yone. And I think why they did this, Thorin, was that they thought that by picking Renekton, they wouldn't play Yone top into it.
Oh, they could force into mid, right? Okay.
So what I thought, Thorin, at this point in time, what I thought to myself is, well, maybe this Renekton is actually a red side flex pick for GenG, and Chovy will play at mid lane. So they'll just match the lane potentially, right? And we're going to save our mid lane / top lane pick, because that would be a very Chovy thing to do. This is the guy who plays melee bruiser mids. He was playing Cassante mid and shit, okay? So if Chovy's going to do it, he could actually just play a counter matchup with Renekton, and then what are we going to do in the top side? Maybe we slide a little Rumble in there, right? We already got the Ziggs for the bot lane. We can't play Jax. Maybe we play an AD top laner. Like, Keen can play range tops, by the way, guys. He could play an AD carry in the top side. He's done it. He's played Triss top. You know what I mean? We've seen Zeus play the Vayne top, Zeri top, these kind of champions. They could have done something super weird, Thorin. Would that have been good in a lane swap? Maybe not. But that's not the point. The point is like, I thought there was some like meta that was going on the top side that was going to be very interesting. But no, Thorin. Instead, they just pick Sylas in the first round of the draft, so they show that the Renekton's going top, and then they take Ziggs Leona. They let the Ashe Renata Glass go through. Maybe Gumayushi and carry as best champions at this tournament. Owner gets Vi. Zeus gets Gragas, which is one of his all-time best champions. And basically, T1's just running a pick composition, which is exactly what they like to do because they're the best pick comp team in the world. And GenG is sitting here with a fucking Renekton and a Sylas and a Ziggs as their only form of damage. And then how are you supposed to win a game of League of Legends with Sylas and Ziggs, especially when the Sylas is just actually straight up building like rocket belt into arm guard? Where is the damage coming from on this team? Like, they actually had a pretty solid lead in the early game.
Yep.
But
they just couldn't win any team fights. It's true. They just couldn't win that.
I mean, I really just disagree with the principles behind the draft here. And if we're going to ban the Xayah, you have to pick the Ashe. It almost seemed, Thorin, like they were confused by T1 selecting Yone with the first pick on blue side. But surely they should have known that was an outcome. It's not like Faker hasn't played Yone, and Zeus certainly has. It's just that Faker wasn't very good on it, and Chovy went ahead and took the Sylas instead, right? But why is this the strategy, and how are they so baffled? I don't get what the draft here from the T1 side was.
Also, by the way, in these games, like easily the worst thing about GenG in these games was their team fighting, bro. Like they were so uncoordinated. Even by the way, that one in game one where they have the lead and they have that Baron fight. Like, why does Chovy just go in and get his head banged in like that? Like, I don't get what they're doing, mate. Like, it's actually so bizarre. It looked like they just panicked in some of these fights, mate.
Well, and game one, by the way, was also the game that they lost. I mean, guys, I think it's overstated. I really think GenG was not winning hard enough to win this game based on the low damage of their composition. Yes. But this was the game where T1 just snuck the Baron because Pays TPs to the mid lane and then goes starts walking into bot side. It's like, guys, you know, how many times have we played against T1? You know that they're going to do these surprise. You know they're going to do this. This is who they are. And GenG had a chance to do Baron after winning a team fight, but they couldn't do it because they have a composition that has no damage to kill Baron. Like, they literally couldn't take advantage of like a 22-minute timing window because they don't have even after they kill somebody on T1, they don't have the damage to do the fucking Baron, right? That's after they had some decent team fights. Like, they got ahead in the early game because GenG was playing better around some of these Herald and Grub fights that they had. So I just don't think GenG was given the tools.
To extra tilt you with the draft. Like, one of the decisive fights, the Dragon fight, is just Gumayushi on Ashe just free clearing up everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Just like no one even hitting him. It's just moving between everyone, just hitting infinite damage. Brilliant. Love that. Love
that. So, I mean, T1, definitely a comfort zone with their pick. GenG gives them a crazy Baron opportunity that they obviously take because they're T1 and this is just who they are. So credit to T1 for pulling this one out, like coming back from the deficit.
It's even one thing. I'll give props when people come up with memes that are actually secretly good analysis, because spoiler, I do the opposite. I tried to do analysis, then I come up with a meme from it, right? Someone actually said, Monty, but it's sort of true. If you remember how this T1 lineup began, they used to be notorious for starting Baron when it was the wrong time and fucking up the game. But it's like, you know, that premise of like the way out is through. It's like by just leaning into that, they're now actually the best at just randomly starting the Baron and winning the game.
They now know.
So crazy, in it. I don't know. It's so wild.
You know what's funny is that they were very timid, T1, at the start of Worlds about doing these Barons. Like, I think when they played, I believe, top Esports in their first game, there was a big Baron window, and I was surprised because they weren't doing Baron during that Baron window. And I was like, who is this team? Like, you guys need to get your groove back, man. And well, they have. So good for them. Game number 2, it looked like just a classic GenG win. But I think one thing that I'll just quickly glide over this, because one thing that went underappreciated about GenG's win is their level 1 basically won them the game. Their level 1 was so clever in terms of their warding that T1 is just, T1 is desperate to get the Caitlyn Braum matchup into the Kai'Sa Rel. GenG knows this, so they ward, and basically they're the ones who are able to just bamboozle T1 in the first minute and a half, just constantly switching back and forth, and they have these wards that are able to just catch out where the members of T1 are. And so by the time that Pays and Lehens actually show up in bot lane, Guma's like too far away, and he has to show up late into top side, which means his wave doesn't crash at the right time, which means Keen is able to TP top to capture that wave, and so Keen now has this massive advantage.
At 2 minutes, Monty. Caitlyn got to top lane at 2 minutes. I just looked it up now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So like GenG doesn't get enough credit for this insanely good level 1 that they had during this game. And GenG is that team where once they're ahead in these scenarios, they catch waves so well, they snowball so well that the incremental advantage just kind of grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And also, I mean, why is Owner playing Kindred?
I know it's mad, isn't it? What a weird selection.
Why is that happening? Like, surely Kindred can't be that good into Skarner, a champion who can literally grab people off Kindred's ultimate.
Perfect.
So, I mean, Keen gets a big lead in that game. They have 1 death on Lehens for the whole game, but it really is, like, if you want to see a game that is the essence of GenG, it's that game. Yes. It's like, take that lead that they get very early on and just relentlessly and methodically snowball that into a crushing macro victory. And that's what we had hoped to see from GenG at this event. This is what they were the best at all year. So Owner being on the carry, Owner's best on engage and facilitating junglers, man. Like, I don't know what to say. The main strength of T1 in terms of synergy with Owner is engage synergy with Faker. All the best iterations of T1 compositions have Owner and Faker coordinating on an engage and then executing it. That is the quintessence of T1. So I just don't think him on like a Kindred is really their best choice. Vi, great. Sejuani, great. Skarner, great. Poppy, great. Kindred, no.
It's why, by the way, the craziest thing about Game 3, which was a mega dominant T1 win, is, bro, if you know who T1 the team is, you've given them like a draft Nirvana, basically. Look at the champions you gave them for Game 3. Like, they're loving that.
Oh, yeah.
That's all the comfort.
Yeah, even the Akali, like, it's not that Faker has been leaning on this recently, but over the last year, it has been a very big pick for him, and some of his highest highs have come on this champion. And look, it may not be the easiest to play in the early levels of the Ahri matchup, right? But if you can get through that phase, again, it's the same comp that they ran in game number 1, except instead of the Yone, now they just have an Akali, right? And I think GenG, again, they thought they were going to get more out of this draft than they did, because GenG, when they beat Hanwha in the Swiss stage to actually enter into the playoff bracket at Worlds, we got to see the Ahri, Jax, Nocturne, Callista / Twitch compositions, right? This is something that they showed they can use very well. They're one of the better teams on this, but this was a breakdown in coordination, because GenG actually had some very good moments in this game where they could have won it. And I think that previously they had used the Nocturnal very well. Where they started to fall really seriously behind in this game was the fight on second Grubs, where Canyon ults too late. And what happens is Chovy doesn't have TP in the bot side, but GenG has a 4 versus 3 because Guma's in mid and Faker's in bot, okay? So it's Owner on Vi, Zeus on Gragas, and Keria on Renata Glask, who are at this objective, right? Meanwhile, everybody but Chovy on GenG is there. And all they have to do, Thorin, is coordinate an engage where Keen TPs in, he TPs into this fight, he gets the flank, Canyon presses R before Faker can TP, because Faker cannot click TP during Nocturnal. But instead what happens is Keen TPs in, Keen starts the engage, Faker starts his TP, and then they hit Nocturnar, and all of a sudden it's a 4 versus 4 with Gumayushi running into the fight late and Chovy being on the other side of the map. This could have been an insanely good fight for GenG. But because Canyon ults too late, Faker gets into the fight, and then Canyon can't actually complete his dash on the Nocturnal because he is zoned out by Carria's Renata Glassgold, and it turns into a smashing T1 lead, and then T1 gets 6 grubs, then they're able to push into the side lanes and start killing turrets. It is a disaster, and GenG's on the back foot for the rest of this game. But that is a weird mistake for them to make. Like, how is it possible that this team, arguably the most coordinated macro team in the world, is fucking up a Jax TP flank with a Nocturne ult when they know Faker has TP and Chovy doesn't? They know that. That's a misplay. That's just a misplay. And
by the way, that's, to make a distinct point there, Monty, the point we're making here is this. It's not that GenG did a 9 out of 10 play and T1 did a 10 out of 10 play. In this scenario, you've got to give props to T1 in the sense that they held their nerve. But these are like moments where GenG just allows them into the game. Like, I'd be fine if T1 just actually smashed them. Okay, nothing you do about that. But I'm with you, Monty. This is like, actually, it's GenG that played, like, as much as T1 had a globe, GenG also played really bad in some of these games, like inexplicably bad.
And also, I think it's really unfair to start putting the blame on Chovy, who literally obviously told his team that he didn't have TP. Everybody knew that, and then they engage a fight and lose it without him.
There was a couple of moments in this series. There's a moment, I forget if it's game 4. There's one where Chovy's just farming a and everyone's going, where's Chovy in the fight? It's like, have you never seen GenG play before? That's how they play. They don't just instantly take every single fight offered to them. Like, they wait when someone says, I'm taking an extra wave. Like, I actually think that's the problem as well, Monty. I think it was almost like there was like divided comms. Like, half people want to go in, half the people don't, or something, you know. Like,
it definitely was. Like, they were definitely having comms issues in this series, because if you can know this from the fact that his Keen's TP was not coordinated with the Nocturnal to turn off Faker's TP. You can tell because Chovy actually stayed for an extra wave in bot side instead of starting to walk up.
Yes.
They just weren't coordinated as a team. And people don't get it, Thorin, but at this level of League of Legends, these small things are what win or lose you games. All of the players in the server are extremely good. And so these things where you have a bad day and you have bad comms, or one player kind of runs it down, like Lehens, it can, in semifinals of Worlds, when you're top 4, that's what wins or loses you series. And GenG deserved to lose this series. I mean, I didn't come out of this series, Thorin, thinking, wow, GenG was robbed. Like, T1 beat them, like, straight up.
Oh, they did, yeah.
T1 beat them straight up. So I'm just baffled by the GenG that we saw and some of these mistakes. And it's, Thorin, I would be more forgiving if these were champions that we hadn't seen them play very well with in literally earlier stages of the same event. But I know they know how to coordinate around Nocturnal. Many teams do not know how to do that, but I know GenG does. And no, they didn't have the Aurora this time, which is obviously very good. Keen was playing Aurora previously, right? That helps them a lot, capitalize on Nocturnals. They didn't have the Twitch. Twitch was banned. I think that was a great ban by T1. But you should be able to do something with the skirmishing power of an Ezreal, Ahri, and Jax. Like, surely it can't be that bad, especially if you're coordinated. And like I said, that team fight should have been a great team fight for GenG. The setup was there. The execution was not. Chovy needed to drop a wave earlier from bot and start running. They needed to just make sure Faker didn't get his TP in until, a few seconds later when they might have been able to burst somebody down. It's just a bad fight. And the Nocturne just wasn't in the fight at all because he could never get in because he was zoned out. So, T1 took that lead and they snowballed it. Credit to Faker. Insane game. Also, the Akali pick was really good, not because it was necessarily the greatest in lane versus Chovy's Ahri, but because it is really good in a 1v1 versus Jax. And if you're trying to stop a Jax split push, you could match Akali with that Jax, and it's going to be strong.
I do have a question, though, which is, in game 4, Bro, the fight that they lose the game off GenG is so fucking insane, bro. Like this, like literally the fight even begins, Monty, with like the opposite of what people would think. They catch Faker full on, blow him the fuck up. They could just walk away at any moment, by the way, Monty. They've now got like the momentum, tempo. And instead, they just inexplicably divide in a fight. Two people just get gangbanged in there, and then Chovy and whoever else walk off. Like that fight is such a shit way to, because like I said at the beginning of this show, Monty, that game 4 was becoming one of the best league games you'll ever see at Worlds. It was a straight fire game. Like T1 had the lead, GenG fought back into it. It was really close. I was just waiting for like, holy fuck, bro, this Silver Scrapes is going to be like the most anticipated match in the history of League of Legends. It's going to be like Chovy vs Faker, game 5. It never happened. They just threw it with the stupidest fight I've seen in ages.
By the way, if T1 loses that game, why wouldn't there have been, people criticizing Faker about actually throwing that game?
Of course, yeah.
Because
completely
by the way, Faker, that wasn't some fucking genius bait. Where he just straight up gets caught out by Keen in the mid lane. Keen makes a great play. And then if they lose the game off of that, what's the narrative then? But I mean, really, again, Thorin, this is on pace because the gold lead had equalized. I do think that in this game, GenG probably had some nice scaling advantages, like the Nidalee Spears were starting to do a ton of damage. Chovy's Tristana will just scale forever.
By the way, props for that as well. Imagine, this is one thing people have to give Canyon props for, bro. He did it in the past as well. The balls on this guy with some of his picks in elimination games is fucking so excellent. Like, if you want the best jungler of all time,
ignore the Trundle game 5 in the World Championship.
That one. No, but you think about how many times he's done a Nidalee pick, or when he did that Kha'Zix pick in spring. Like, this guy's fucking going for it, mate. And he was carrying that game. He was doing well, yeah.
Yeah, he struggled. He definitely struggled at first, but there were problems, for GenG. There were failed turret dives, in the first game that they probably should have been able to execute. GenG struggled in some, like they over pursued at times. Like Lehen's like inted this game gratuitously. He played really quite badly. He was getting baited by Keria, by Faker, like going in too deep. Faker actually, one of the more fun parts of this game is Faker intentionally flashes after he sees Lehen's W him in the top side. And he does this so that Lehen's gets dragged deeper. So GenG overcommits in the top lane. So Faker dies in that play, but the trade back is actually advantageous for T1. And it's one of those things where it's like, that's how they get the Baron. It's like, oh, well, you killed Faker, but, it cost you everything in this game. And it really put GenG on the brink. And if they don't win that miracle fight at the Drake that Keen really carried, like I was talking about earlier, they can't come back. And then Keen gets the pick onto Faker and literally has his flash up on Ashe. And the only thing he has to do is not get hit by Skarner ult. Did Skarner have flash? No, guys. No, he did not. He literally just walks up to Skarner and gets Skarner ulted and dies. And they Lehen's died on that play, but they traded Lehen's for fucking Faker. It's an insane trade. Yeah. You could walk away. You can go take the Drake. You have a much better siege composition. You can their siege composition is actually just they have Ashe, Tristana, Nidalee with Poppy and Maokai to disengage. Poppy ult and Maokai ult to disengage. When this team gets Baron, you saw it when they got the Baron. You can't keep turrets up if you're T1.
This is why I say, Monty, certainly T1 played very different to how they did in summer in LCK, and they were way better. But simultaneously, GenG just completely lost their heads, bro. Like, if you think of the GenG in a normal summer game in LCK, bro, they instantly disengage that fight and just take the fucking dragon, like you say. Like, it's just obvious, isn't it? Like, they have everything in their fucking back pocket. Like, this is where, like, I actually thought, remember our prediction of GenG winning Worlds was they would win by just being boring, by just doing proper macro. No, this is like they were actually trying to get involved in, like, epic team fights or some shit, which sadly was their downfall. It isn't their style. I don't know why they did it, mate. It was they just got baited into it. They just got too hyphy and tried to end the game off it or something, didn't they?
I mean, I think that they can team fight because in a lot of these games, T1 is playing pick compositions that are just straight up worse than the 5v5. And they're, a lot of times they were not getting picked off on the approach to these objectives. So I think it's not unreasonable. We saw in the 5v5 when they were very far down, right at that Drake that we were talking about where King carried, like they can still team fight. They can still do very well in some of these engagements, even with gold deficits.
Oh, but
but
wait, are you actually right as well? Logically, if T1 had lost this game, surely Faker gets flamed to fuck. Like in that dragon fight, by the way, he gets completely destroyed. Like he's just getting banged by like 3 people. Yeah,
he gets Poppy ulted out, and then he walks back in and dies.
Yep. Just gets wrecked instantly, doesn't he? Yeah, he got completely focused. Yeah.
So, I don't know how the takeaway from this could possibly be that Keen played badly, because Keen was probably the best performing player in this server over the course of this series, and he was the best performing player in quarters as well. I think that's rather undeniable.
I am so sick and tired though that we've got like the Korean version of that shit where, you know, in TSM, whenever they played, everyone just hinted into them. Why every year is the Manchurian candidate activate Agent Kanavi / Lehens? And they're like, yes, sir, Captain, like fucking Winter Soldier or something. They start doing what they're told. I must, like, they're going down with the ship. Like, yes, Faker. Yes, Lord Faker. Yes, Lord Faker. Fuck is this? These are like the greatest teams of all time as well. There's just serial into inside the team, hidden, just waiting for his moment to reveal himself to the Jedi. I can't handle it, mate.
Well, also Lehens, I had a lot of questions about what was going on with this guy, because it's not even just in the 4th game, but in multiple games of this series, Thorin.
Yeah.
He would literally like walk into river at 17 minutes into the game. There's no objective there. Herald's gone. Baron has 3 minutes to spawn. Why is he there? To die, I guess? I don't know. He just walks in there alone and just commits suicide. I have no idea what he's thinking in some of these moments, but he could actually be trying to, I don't know, get levels, be in lane and try and get some levels, which he's constantly behind it in many of these games compared to Keria. And also, it's just the unnecessary risk. Like, my guy, Lehens, you are playing into a pick comp. They will find you and destroy you. If you see one of them, you have to assume that the rest of them are going to be there very soon, because that's how T1 plays. You know this is how T1 plays. If you see a guy and you're in river, why don't we just assume that Pyke is also there somewhere? Why don't we assume that Zeus or Faker are also there? Why don't we assume that Gumayushi is also there? Furthermore, Lehens also just isn't respecting Verisult. He refuses to use Flash on 2 separate occasions, gets hit by Verisult, and then just gets one shot by Gumayushi. Like, dude, you know what happens. You are a support Maokai. Maokai without items is paper. You cannot even get hit by the ult. And it's not like he was tanking it. These ults would have just missed if he just flashed. It's not like he was going to hit his teammate, guys. So I have no idea what he was thinking in this series. He's trying to hold on to this flash for no reason. He builds QSS, I assume, because he doesn't have enough money for Mykles. It's wild. It's wild. So, I mean, disappointing end, especially for GenG. Like, Lehens and Pays, neither of them lived up to expectations. Pays, I think, was a value pickup for GenG. Surely after his very good year overall, he will be a top free agent. I'm sure he will get much more money.
Very young in his career too. Can still can still sharp some of these problems.
He's 18 years old. He's fine. I mean, I have been a Pays critic, obviously, because I just don't think he's not that guy, right? He needs to be the janitor. He is not the hero of this roster. And I think we've seen that time and time again. It's like, if he gets a lead, can he be the ultimate carry? No. He will throw games that he doesn't have any business. Like, he needs to just do his fucking cleanup job, and that's it. And he tries to overplay a lot of the time, and that's what causes GenG a lot of problems. It's what caused them to lose that first game against Humble Life in the finals. Otherwise, that's a 3-0 for GenG. And he absolutely should have been playing more cautiously in a situation where he just gets randomly ulted by Skarner. But he isn't the clutch player. He's not him. So, but I don't know where he goes, because he was very comfortable winning games where he didn't have to be the clutch player, and he could be on the win more team. And I think a lot of cracks in his game are going to show up if the team's really relying on him.
But here's the obvious comparison. When people were trying to tell me, because GenG was like undefeated, that like Pays is better than Viper, put fucking Pays in Viper's spot. Let's have him on some of those Hanwha teams like in past years where he had just hard carry the whole time. Let me see that game, because that's fucking hard to do, bit. That is really hard to be that guy as the ADC who's supposed to carry every game.
So yeah, I think Pays will probably be overpaid by somebody and then disappoint. Unless
overpaced.
he overpaid.
Yeah. And I tell you what, much like me and Chovy, we are both overpays. So can we get Viper Ruler in this motherfucker ASAP, please?
I have a feeling that Ruler's gonna come back. I have a feeling that Ruler's gonna come back.
That'll be dope.
How GenG will afford other players if Ruler comes back, I don't know. Maybe
also,
they just...
the reason why, here's why that would be amazing, Monty, because if you remember back when they played in that 2022 team, Chovy wasn't the same player he is now. Like now he's actually taken like that extra step. He's way more like fucking well-rounded and can do the aggressive pushes and stuff. I think it'll be an unbelievable team if you can make it. Why not? Go for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that wraps up that series. Great win from T1. They just like at Worlds last year, it feels like they are now, the frustrating thing about T1 at Worlds last year was it felt as though they were just lost in the meta. They were trying to do what everyone else is doing. And then they're like, nah, we're just going to run our double AD carry lanes back and go back to comfort. And now they're running these pick compositions. They basically ran pure pick compositions in this series. They went back to what was working for them, and it was a much more effective way of playing the game. I just don't understand why T1 has to fool themselves a lot of the time that they should be the most like stock standard meta team when they clearly have some great strengths. And whenever in the last couple of years at Worlds, when they've activated those strengths, they've looked way better, way better. Well, I guess we'll talk about BLG versus Weibo now and then preview our Worlds finals.
I'll give you my angle on this one, Monty, because this is what I told people, because actually I've done like a lot of bets on Weibo this tournament. One of the reasons why I keep doing it is I always tell people Weibo isn't actually good. In fact, I even before said they were clutch. They're not even actually clutch, Monty. What they are, and this is actually a really key analytical point, is, bro, they are just the scrappiest fucking team. Like this team just loves a 24/7 skirmish, take any fight in the game, just push every single possible like fight to the limit. And what's weird about that is though, Monty, as you saw, fully enough, we just discussed GenG having this flaw. Teams get drawn into that. And if you get drawn into that world, they have a chance. And they have had a couple of people like Light who have performed very, very well in the tournament. Yeah. They've had a couple of players who've been really smurfing. So if people don't realize, even though this was 3-0 BLG, bro, this is a fucking close 3-0 though. There was some games where Weibo could have fucked around and won some of these.
I mean, I would argue probably that it didn't have to be this close. BLG probably should, to me.
That's what I mean, though. They got drawn into it, mate. They got drawn into that fucking game.
They did.
You couldn't resist it.
Before we break this down, got one more sponsor to shout out today, guys. It is, of course, Raycon. Shout out to Raycon. I've got you got your everyday earbuds. I got my everyday earbuds right here. Great quality, guys. Obviously, they come in a charging case. So you charge up the case, that charges up the headphones, as you are probably used to. They are excellent value. So you guys can check them out. So you can get up to 30% off site-wide coming up soon. So this is all for the usual Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you're getting a deal you wouldn't normally get, and that is going to be up to 30% off. One of these great things is they do have a 32-hour battery life. They have multi-point connectivity, so they can connect to multiple devices with Bluetooth simultaneously, which means you're not
charges really fast.
It charges really fast. It means you're constantly not just pairing them, unpairing them. Yes. It's really annoying. Yeah. They also come with active noise cancellation, which is great in loud environments. If you're on a flight, they also have awareness mode, so you can just hear straight through if you need to. It's easily accessed just by tapping on the side of the everyday earbuds. So a lot of really, really great features. I've used these on planes. The active noise cancellation is excellent. They're also sweat resistant, so water resistant, so you can sweat on them, no problem. If you go to the gym, they are great. They're quality rivals, some of the biggest names in premium audio, and they start at just half the price of a lot of other brands. So they're already a great deal even before you factor in the 30% off site-wide. So it's time to save big. Go to buyraycon.com/LFN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/LFN. So thank you. If you guys have been in the market for some new earbuds, please go ahead and check out our friends over at Raycon. I've been very happy with mine. I own a lot of headphones. I've been given a lot of headphones over the years. This is what happens when you're in esports. These genuinely do sound good. And the value on them is pretty crazy, especially for active noise cancellation and the other features you're going to get. Battery life is great. So excellent earbuds. Raycon, buy raycon.com/LFN. Good time to buy them and get those savings.
Shout out anyone who buys them. Also, I actually do think one of the best features about those is it's very intuitive. Like, it's really easy to figure out all the buttons and what they do. It's not complicated. You don't have to read a whole manual. You'll figure it out really quickly and pick it up. And they're really useful. Like the pausing to do something and noise awareness and all that stuff is really good, actually.
Yep. So over to the Weibo BLG series. I mean, well, I'll save some of this for when we get into the previews. Like, first off, Knight on the Smolder. Who could have known? Zhao, perhaps the best thing. I spoke very highly of Weibo's drafts in the last game because in their last series in the quarterfinals, because I thought that they did a good job of targeting Weiwei and kind of like forcing them by the end to play all AD compositions and pushing on some of the weaknesses that we saw from LNG. Well, it turns out when you just ban Aurora and Orianna, old Zhao, who doesn't look too good.
Yeah, those are his crap champions.
He's probably been the best Aurora mid at this tournament, but when you take that away and you take his Orianna away, what do we get? We get some kind of subpar Yone gameplay, like actually just straight up mechanically bad Yone gameplay where he's like fucking up his combos or doing really weird sequences of abilities.
He wasn't on his game today. He even had his signature Lucian pick and did that inexplicable play where he just runs over the bombs. Like, bro, he's probably the best Lucian player ever, and he just hinted it like his brain's turned off in this series, mate. He's turned off, mate.
His Lucian game, I mean, you watch that TP where he goes into 3 players top and just gets immediately destroyed, right, by Knight and Elk on the Syndra and Ziggs. And then you watch him in the Drake fight where he like steps on one bomb and then walks away and then steps on another bomb and then goes away, then steps on a third bomb and then dashes into a fourth bomb and dies.
I know. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, bro.
I mean, the thing is that he probably would have died to Bin's flank, Bin's flank on that play anyway. But they also just give Billy, Skarter, and Jax for 3 straight games. It's like, guys, I know other teams have beat Bin's Jax at this tournament, but maybe the best strategy isn't to just all in on giving Bin, Jax, and Jun this Skarner, because Skarter has been very strong. And Jun, granted, he's typically more of a carry style jungler, but he did really well on the Skarner in this series. Knight had an absolutely bonkers series. He died 1 time, had insane performances across everything. He looked great. These games were just so weird from a compositional perspective for Weibo, though, because, like, take, for example, game 1. You're trying to play Yone and Kalista into Smolder and Varus, but you also have no backline threat for these champions because they're playing Poppy and Brandon Renata. And all of these champions are great if the enemy is playing into you. But if you're Billy and you're literally just sitting there and poking them and you don't, Weibo has to get objective priority on basically every objective. They have to start the Drake stacking early. Do they do that? No, they actually it's a lane swap game where they're top. I think they tried to call the lane swap. And so they don't actually get these Drakes in the early game. And then we get into a point where Smolder is just scaled out of control. And Knight wasn't even scaling particularly quickly by Smolder standards. It wasn't like the 18-minute Chovy 225 stacks against FlyQuest. He hits it at like 22, 23 minutes into this game. But how do you actually kill Varus and Smolder? How do you kill them? Because Brand and Renata Glask are very good if people are coming into you. You basically have to hope that you hit a great Poppy ult. They also just don't have really any engage, which is a big issue. This series just gets kind of weird. It just gets kind of weird. By game 4, we're playing 4 melee champs on Weibo. I don't really know what Weibo was trying to do with all of these compositions that were super low range. It almost felt like they thought they had to force like some really big early game advantages. Otherwise, they were just going to eventually lose in the mid and late game. It felt like they didn't believe they could win.
No, this looks like one of those ones where you've lost in scrims a million times and you're like, oh, we can't do any of the normal stuff. You know what I mean? Like you should do some wacky draft.
Yeah. And like Xiaohu's Yone definitely wasn't it. The Lucian pick is left up, but then they blind it into, and you can just tell the Lucian's coming, Thorin, because what they do is they ban Smolder and Cassiopeia, and the only reason, because Yone's, you banned Yone earlier, okay? So what has Smolder been played into over the end of summer into this, like what has Smolder been played mid into? Yone, obviously, but also AD champions, Corki, Tristana, Lucian. In fact, Chovy played, when Weibo played GenG in Swiss, Chovy played Smolder into Lucian in one, into Xiaohu's Lucian in one. So now they're scarred by it, but it is just so telegraphed when you see the Smolder and the Cassiopeia ban. He's like, haha, you won't get me with the scaling Smolder and you won't lane counter me with Cassiopeia. I have you now, Knight. And Knight's just like, yeah, but what if I just pick Syndra and just stand a million miles away? And also, Jun is just going to come in and E you, and as soon as the E gets you into a wall, I'm going to hit you with the scatter the weak stun and then ult you. It's just bad. Like Xiaohu played a very good series in quarterfinals, and he played a fucking terrible series in semis. And Chris was also really bad. And On was also bad, but On won the game.
Here's the thing. This is where no one's, Dom did that tweet where he even said that, if Chovy loses today in the GenG T1 series, like the narratives will be absolutely like it's going to be worse. You haven't thought it through, guys. Like if somehow BLG loses and Fake has actually won over like Prime, Chovy and Knight, it's going to actually be intolerable, guys. You're not even prepared for it. Like low key, even though I think T1's actually played awesome in the tournament, that's why I have to believe BLG wins, because I just don't want to face that reality, bro. I can't handle it. I can't face it. I can't take it.
Well, I have some bad news for you, because On is on this team. And what I said coming into semis was because this is a rematch of the LPL finals. And in that 3-0 that Billy won, On played a fucking abysmal game of Bard. Like game 3, he was just straight running it down. BLG still won that game. I was like, okay, so under what circumstances does Weibo actually win a game? Because even just egregious inting on a support isn't enough. So I think On didn't even have a good series, and yet again he wins.
But the mad thing is, bro, he's in the finals. He's actually had a pretty shit Worlds for me.
He's been terrible.
He's just not been very good at all, has he?
No, he's been really very bad, like engaging way ahead of his team, dying on his own all the time, missing his abilities. He has just not had a good event.
What you said earlier, by the way, right now, as of this moment, one of the main reasons T1 is actually looking awesome is because their support looks like far away the best player in the whole tournament. There's no other support player on his level, mate. Can we even put in that category right now? Everyone else has kind of had a shit Worlds or just had an underwhelming performance.
Not the Braum game, but the rest of them. I would also say not the Pyke game he had in quarters either. Like, I feel like that was a for fun pick. The Pyke pick actually made a lot more sense when he played it into GenG in game number 4, because hook champs into Ashe, being able to deal with the Maokai also was really good. His ability to roam on the map was excellent in that game. So I did like the Pyke pick a lot more in the GenG series. But Keria has been great, and he's just been affecting the game in really profound ways. Even, doing in the first game of the series, he's on the Renata Glask. I think it was it was the first game. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. The first game of the series, he's on the Renata Glask, and he is basically making a pass. He has a surprising gank onto mid lane at the exact right time, hits Chovy with a handshake when Chovy's on Silas, chunks him out, and then GenG just can't contest for first grubs, so T1 gets the first 3 grubs. His timings have been really good about where he is on the map and trying to get those advantages where teams will not even be able to fight for objectives, right? He completely crushed the early game because he got the flash out of both Pays and Lehens in like the first 2 minutes of the game. And so how are they supposed to deal with this laning phase? And once their flashes are down, the knock-on effect is they can't play forward. So if they can't really like push the advantage, then Gumayusi can sit there alone and Keria can roam the map on Pyke, right? And just be more annoying to everyone else too. So it's really is a crazy advantage that Keria was able to get. Because it made it so Genji's bot lane couldn't play aggressively. So yeah, I mean, look, I think that if we actually talk about the finals matchup, if you are a BLG fan, that's probably your biggest point of concern, because that is by far the greatest player for player imbalance between these two rosters. Keria has been playing much, much better than On at this tournament. And while we can say that Knight has had a better tournament than Faker, which is true, Faker was actually quite good, I think, in the semifinals. His Akali game was great. And I don't know if the gulf between those two players is enough to overcome the fucking giant ocean that exists between Keria and On at the moment.
Thing is, though, that is exactly what I want to see, though. I do want to see Knight on these picks. I want to see Montsindra and Smolder and these. Let's get these champions out there. Let's see what happens then. That would be an interesting angle.
Yeah, I think one of the weird dynamics in this series is that neither mid laner wants to play Yone. That's actually quite curious, for considering how big of a pick Yone has been in summer and at Worlds. This, maybe, actually that's not true. Probably Zeus wants to play it, right? But it's not something that I would say that Knight has been the most comfortable on compared to some of his other mega games. Like, I think he's a better Yone than Faker for sure, but it's not like he's Cream or he's Scout, who I think were the more standout Yones within LPL. So maybe that is not as much of a priority pick, but the Akali, I think, becomes very interesting between these two mid laners because they both had really good games on it. Orianna is obviously not a Knight pick either, and it could be a Faker pick, so maybe that gets drawn into the bans like it has been against T1. One of the weird things about T1, Thorin, is that they just have been leaning into pick comp so hard that they haven't even wanted to play Orianna when it's up. It's been banned against them, but they just haven't been playing it. So it clearly is just not a priority. They would rather play Yone mid, probably Ari, Silas, Akali, Galio, champions that do have more long engage range and pick single target damage pick potential, I would say.
Do you not have any concerns that Bin will just smash those?
So here's the thing. I mean, they can pick Jax, but does that mean they have to ban Gragas, right? What are you banning? So I think the issue is, like, Zeus can play the Jax very well, but you're also having to talk about, okay, well then at that point in time, do we have to ban Gnar and Gragas? Because those are key signature Zeus picks, and he's really good into that matchup. So I don't know.
Also, what do you think about the fact that, like, look, I think Elk is, like, overall a better ADC than Gumayusi, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with that as well, because, like, at the moment, everyone's just letting T1 pick the bot lanes they want. So I want to see what they're going to do with the draft there. Again,
Gumayusi is not going to suddenly be a Zeri Kaisa player, so I would say the meta fits Elk better. Like,
even got the Ziggs as well.
Elk is going to be better on Ziggs, exactly. He's going to be better on Ezreal. He's going to be better on Kaisa. So, are they going to give them Ashe? Like, Ashe must be banned if you're Billy. They were banning Ashe against Weibo.
Which they themselves were banning, yeah. So
yeah, they're banning Ashe against Weibo. I don't think they want to play Ashe, so that's like, I think, a mandatory ban for BLG. Without Tarzan there, they don't have to ban Brand, which they were doing in this series. But you'll notice they were banning Gnar against Breathe, so they are clearly concerned about Jax counters when they pick up the Jax. So they don't want to play, they're not going to want Gnar. The other thing Zeus has too, he can play Rumble into Jax also. So maybe Jax gets deprioritized for Bin. BLG has banned Jax at times during this tournament. I think they did it in quarters. So it wouldn't surprise me. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of take a back seat on that. Yeah, they were banning Jax into Doran because Doran was more reliant on Jax than Bin was in quarters. So I think that's a strategy that might come out again. Because I think T1 wants them to play Jax. Because they can't ban out all of Zeus's picks.
Yeah. So you think they're just going to bait them into it and then just put all their comps around it?
Maybe. I think BLG just ban Jax.
Bin does just have that quality too, where he does have the giga ego that he'll pick it, even if it's like Faker on the LeBlanc back of that EDG match back in the day. He'll pick it as well. He has the ego. He thinks
sure,
best,
but
yeah.
I think BLG's coaching staff will just ban it. I think you just ban it because it's easier just to ban the Jax than it is to try and ban out all of Zeus's answers to Jax, is my feeling. And if they pick it, I think Zeus just has too many different champions that he can play into it that he will be happy to that can still function in these pick compositions.
Because what I find so interesting about the final, Monty, is not only do you have all the narrative elements, like, by the way, if people haven't realized, the narrative elements will also play amazingly if BLG wins. Like, think about how many generational curses BLG has to overcome. It's an all-Chinese team with a Chinese mid laner with no Koreans involved at all, and T1 never loses to Chinese teams at Worlds. Like, that would have to be like the most crazy, like, overcoming of all the narratives at once. But here's the angle I think is most interesting for the final, Monty, is if you actually look at the two teams, they have two totally different champion pools pretty much. Aside from a little bit of overlap, like you say, maybe on Zeus, like most of the time, if you look at it, like BLG's the team that's going to play the Skarner all the time. They're the one that's going to have all, like, more mid lane picks, etc. Like, as you say, ADC pool, there's a steeper. Like, this is why if T1 actually wins, I want to see what strategy they come with in draft. Because so far, they've actually, that's the one thing you have to say about T1 at this Worlds too. Somehow in playoffs and Worlds, they do lead the draft every time. Everyone follows their moves. So what's their adaptation to BLG, do you think?
And well, here's the thing, Thorin. We actually did see this matchup already in the best of ones in Swiss. So we can kind of look to that. So there's several caveats here that we have to discuss, which is Billy had not subbed in Jun yet. They were still playing Wei. True. Wei did play Skarner, though, which is something that Jun would play. They did pick Jax, but Zeus played the Gnar into the Jax, right, and was very successful in doing so. Knight played Ahri, had a good game, but this was also before teams kind of figured out that if you early pick Ahri, the Sylas is going to get picked, and Sylas then gets Ahri ult, and it's actually just more annoying to have Sylas with Ahri ult than it is good for you to have Ahri. They also played Elk on Jhin and on support Poppy. The Jhin has obviously fallen out of favor the longer Worlds has gone on. Guma played Callista, and Keria played Nico. So they were playing a really classic T1 bot lane with the support Nico with the Callista. Super powerful in the laning phase. They are probably the only team that will run this kind of composition. So yeah, this is definitely a pickup that feels very comfortable. You can even tell, Thorin, that BLG was trying to mimic this because they played support Nico in the game against Weibo. So it feels like they are learning things from T1. And that was actually On's first support Nico game of the year. And it's only his second support Nico game of all time. So I think clearly this is a T1 effect that they are having. Oh, I take it back. Sorry. On has played 2 support Nico games. He has played 2 support Nico games this year. So he's played 2 career support Nico games. So not a lot of experience on this champion. I can check when the last time he actually played it. What did he play it earlier in this tournament? I'm actually forgetting right now. I was going to check this. No, he didn't. He played it in spring. He played it 1 game in spring, and then he's played it 1 game at Worlds, and that's it. So this, I do feel like this is probably the result of scrimming or playing this match against T1 or scrimming against them, is that they wanted to play a more dominant bot lane. And especially because they see the Callista on Renata on the other side, so they pick Varus Nico to actually just kind of poke out and try and play a more lane dominant style. But yeah, anyway, I think when Billy has made a lot of adaptations to the meta that I think are good since this time, and they've also swapped out their player. But it is worth noting that they did beat the infamous Bin Jax and Knight Ahri in that game. So maybe Billy
Which was a bad game, by the way.
It was a good game, but I think maybe you just ban the Jax. I think maybe Billy bans the Jax as a result.
Also, by the way, if T1 win this one, what a fucking insane run this one is as well. You've beaten top esports, GenG and BLG. Those are like 3 of the top 5 teams in the world or something. Like, that's pretty fucking good right there. That would be an amazing win if they manage it.
I mean, look, I think there is no more legitimate way that T1 could win Worlds than by beating BLG and GenG. Yeah. Like, I don't think you have any real questions. It's, it's like the DRX run in 2022 where DRX actually did just take out all the best teams. And so it's, as much as it is kind of a meme that they won, it is very hard to actually legitimately argue that they didn't deserve to win Worlds because they probably took the hardest route they could through the bracket. Makes it more annoying if you're an analyst. But if we're, and I think probably, if BLG wins, you could actually just also say, it's similar to the route they would run as well. I mean, they don't beat GenG, but.
No, but here's the thing, mate. They'll have beaten Hanwha, some champions of summer, LPL's finalists in Weibo in the semis, and then T1 reigning world champions in the final. If you do it that way, it's pretty fire too. You're right. It would have been better for them to play GenG in the final, obviously, but that didn't happen. So
I mean, it would have been better for them to play GenG in semis instead of Weibo.
Anywhere.
Then that would have been going Hanwha to GenG to T1, the Korean death bracket would have been probably the most legitimate win they could have had. Because BLG was so dominant domestically that it just didn't feel like an LPL team was really going to challenge them.
And like I say, people always miss that narrative, which is all past LPL wins were with one, a Korean mid laner, and usually two Koreans even. This is an all-Chinese team, 100%. And like I said, T1 doesn't lose to LPL at Worlds. So this would, if BLG wins, what an epic way to itself change the narrative that would be. And also, by the way, if they win, well, remember, Bin won at MSI in the past when it was in RNG, and Knight won MSI last year with JDG. So Bin and Knight would also do the Korea Grand Slam, mate. They'd have won everything. They'd won Worlds, MSI, and LPL. So that would be pretty cool as well. We'll see, though. We'll see. They look good. By the way, my actual hope for the final is just have the best final ever. I don't care who wins. I want it to just be a really great game. Have a fucking banger, because that last Worlds final was shit. That one with like Weibo last year was just fucking. It was terrible. Gross. Because the problem you also have with this format, guys, I can tell you right now, there are people who aren't fans of League, but who might tune in if they see it's like the Worlds finals. They're going to watch and go, wait a minute, these are like the two best teams, and then think the game's shit. Whereas it's like, actually, no, that was like, the joke was that was probably T1's like least hard game in the whole fucking playoffs last year. Like, the actual semis was the real final, wasn't it?
Yeah. Certainly had the the most memorable play was Faker's like a zero sweep in that semi. So I do tend to agree with you. My other concern about BLG is you touched on this, but I want to be a little bit more specific about it.
The joke is, here's the joke, Monty. The obvious joke I missed was this. Obviously, the reason why people like Lehens and Kanavi have done this fucking insane double agent move is because where they you won't believe it. They keep going there when I won them, Monty. They keep going to that fucking bazaar in the Middle East that magically appears, and it only ever sells one bloody item. You can't just get a corn dog or some old fucking heirloom. It's one bloody item, and I tell you what, they must have the best. It must be like cigarettes. It must have the best market ever for this item, because everyone knows on the side of the packet it says, if you're not careful, you get exactly what you wish for. So what happened was, Lehens and Kanavi back in the day, when they were coming up as young players, they said, all I want is to be in the semi-finals of a Worlds and help Faker reach the finals. There you go. There you fucking go, boys. I figured it out. By the way, someone who's an editor, please make a compilation of all my cursed monkey ball scenarios. Because wouldn't it be like an hour long at this point over 10 years? Like, I've got a lot of material. I've got a lot of, yards out of that one. I've really spent that
the value has been crazy.
Yes, it has.
So one thing I'm worried about BLG is, like you mentioned, they got kind of drawn into Weibo's game plan, because I'm sitting there in game one of the series store. I'm like, all right, Knight's got it. It's the easiest scaling game of all time. Weibo's doing nothing. They're not taking, it's just like free range advantage, free scaling advantage, free win for BLG. And they're like, but what if we did randomly into dragon fight that we totally didn't need to actually fight for? Like, the craziest thing to me, Thorin, was Knight in that dragon fight that they inted. He had 224 stacks and then hit 225 while he was dying at the end of that Drake fight. I'm like, guys, you already got Drakes this game. Who gives a shit if you give this one up? Just get to your item and like smolder stack breakpoints. Why are we fighting this? Why are we fighting? They literally fought for so long that they had like no mana at the end of this fight, and then they're just continuing to engage. They actually, the funniest thing, Thorin, was they had a chance to walk away from it. They literally could have just been like, all right, you guys take this one. Just walk back through to bottom lane. No, they have to commit 100% to this fight. It's just terrible. Whereas if you look at T1 was incredibly precise in the team fights they were taking in the series against GenG. Outside of the very end of game 4 where they had that comfortable lead, I think T1 really played the macro game very well, whereas BLG was getting sucked into some stupid engagements at times that they really, with their compositions, it felt like they just lost sight of their win conditions. And it's true, BLG typically plays a lot worse in game one of a series than they do in the rest of the series. And one of BLG's strengths is adapting over time and like figuring out the enemy team. So that could be true here as well. But going down 0-1 in a best of 5 in a world finals is daunting, right? Even if you are as good as BLG, even if you have been able to close out these best of 3s and best of 5s with wins in the end, I get concerned because they feel like a team that really needs to warm up in the servers, and against the best opponents in the world, dropping that game or needing to have that warm-up game is a pretty big disadvantage.
It's also one of my theories of why so many of the finals have been shit 3-0 stomps, because I also think when you lose that second close game, people are just mentally broken and they know the game's over already. They don't properly in game 3 believe they have the chance to win. So I also do hope it's just a banger right out the gate. Like, we need game 1 to be a 40-minute banger, constant back and forwards. I also do think the obvious concern as well, Monty, is we've just seen this now, especially from LPL teams. Like, they just want to fight all the time. So if T1 plays it really shrewdly with the pick comps and they get the picks and get out, I could see a world where BLG like overextends, trying to chase them down, etc. The key thing for me is this: I'm still going to pick BLG to win, and the reason why is I just think fundamentally they have better players. So I do think there's a world where if it's a normal team fight, they can win. Like, I could see a world where fucking an Elk Kaiser cleans up a team fight, or the fucking Bin Jax just gets the right 2 people at the beginning of a fight and isolates them. There's a hell of a punch chance for BLG. The problem is right now, as you're saying, even though they've made it to the final, they've sort of like stumbled as they've got through to that point, and they've done it in spite of some of their choices in the game. Whereas the difference is, if I have to give T1 massive props for anything, it's that, like I said after that game they played against BLG in the Swiss, they are easily the best team at understanding their own use of what they're going to do with their comp. Like, their understanding the win conditions is very impressive, bro, because they seem to somehow play to it during the game. It's one thing to go into the game with the idea. They know, like, mid-game what they're supposed to do, when they have like a fight they can take or they can't. So it's very impressive, I've got to say.
I think, T1 is just very used to playing pick comps and iterations of pick comps, and they've played with the same roster for 3 years, and they've played where this has been their strongest style overall for 3 years. And so now they just have such a wide array of tools to use in a similar fashion. It's like when we talk about the series they played against GenG, they played the same composition in basically game 1 and game 3, but they just flip out the Yone and flip in the Akali. But fundamentally, this composition basically plays in the same fashion, right? Their win condition is still playing for picks. It's still trying to, control vision, to set traps, to get somebody isolated, to collapse on a side lane, and to deal a lot of single target burst damage, and to be able to call in the cavalry from a million miles away, right? And so with T1, we've seen so many iterations of this. We've seen the mid lane Kai'Sa from 2 years ago. We've seen the Lee Sin Gragas iterations of this from when Faker was playing Gragas in mid lane, and he had that crazy synergy with Owner. We've seen the Yasuo version, like the Yasuo Lee Sin versions of this. We've seen the Akali versions. We've seen the Ahri versions with Vi, right? They just have so many ways to play these compositions. It's honestly a shame that Guma can't play Kai'Sa, because it just feeds into that strength even more. Sure. But he hasn't been good enough in order for them to do it, because other teams in this tournament have played pick comps with the Kai'Sa, and it's incredibly good. Like, Jax Kai'Sa is good because Jax pushes, and then all of a sudden Kai'Sa shows up when Jax is 1v1ing somebody. It's a 2v1, and then Jax gets more fed and then gets more side lane advantages. Very strong. But we haven't been able to see that played at a high level from T1. So, look, I think if you look at the on-paper matchups, T1 is probably the favored team. Not just because they wanted a best of 1, which I think is pretty meaningless. It's the meta has evolved over the course of Worlds. I don't think we see BLG playing a lot of those comps anymore. Seems like T1 was more on top of the meta early. They've switched out their jungler because Wei was underperforming. It just feels like the on versus Keria difference is too much. And even though Knight was transcendent in summer playoffs in LPL, he's been excellent. Knight struggled at the start of summer in LPL. LPL playoffs, he was fucking like double-digit killing people on Corki and not even dying.
So insane in these semis as well. Like we just said, he had a fucking 6 saves.
It was great.
Too.
It was great. But T1 is the better macro team. They're a team that comes out of the gate stronger, and they probably have the single largest individual mismatch. And Faker has been having a good tournament, so the advantage that BLG might have in mid lane is probably less than the one that T1 have in the bot lane with Keria versus On. So I think if BLG wins this, On really has to get back into form that he's displayed in the past. And my other question is Jun going to be like, is Jun going to start playing some of these carry junglers that he's known for, right? Is this where the Kindred comes out? Is this where the Nidalee comes out? Because they've been kind of reverting to Skarner or other junglers.
But I think he'll do a Nidalee pick at some point, surely. Surely that team
he
looks
has
good.
To, right?
Yes.
Like he has to.
Yes.
Because I just don't think he's going to get Skarner in all three of these games. He got they, not he, Wei got Skarner in the last game into Owner's Vi, and Owner is a very good Vi player, and it doesn't even feel like T1 is prioritizing this champion, as evidenced by the fact that they literally first pick Yone instead of first picking Skarner when they have the opportunity. But I think maybe they just ban it out, right? I think maybe they just don't even give them that chance to take this champion. In the last game that T1 played against BLG, they banned out Yone, Aurora, and Smolder. Maybe that's the strategy again. Because Faker is not a good Smolder player. He wasn't when he played at mid in LCK. His Yone looked much better in semifinals. It was probably his best Yone game that I've seen, but he hasn't been a top-tier Yone player. And can he play Aurora? I don't know. Aurora was banned by GenG. That makes me think, Thorin, that Faker's been good at Aurora in scrims. He did play Aurora prior to Aurora's global ban in the playoffs for the bug that Aurora caused. So he did have some decent, like I remember one decent performance that he had on Aurora off the top of my head, but he probably is much better at that champion now. So GenG was prioritizing that ban. So maybe that comes up and that ban gets let through, especially if T1's on blue side, but we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah.
By the way, this is just a random aside, but one of the things that actually makes me look down on fans so much is, you'll remember this, Monty. Do you remember one of the original things before LS got really popular that people used to hate on him so hard for on his stream was when he does the StarCraft function key usage where he looks around the map all the time, right? And he even used to always say himself, because if you ever watched his stream, you knew this, that Faker does that. So he would always say it's worth learning to do this, because if it gets even like, 2% extra out of your map awareness, it's worth it. Like, you're aware of what all the map states are, right? I saw that during this match, people were taking that clip, even dickhead Jake Lucky, who knows nothing about any esports game as far as I know, and they're all going, oh my God, look at how Faker plays, he's the GOAT. It's like, bro, you could all have been doing this the whole time. The entire time, like what he's doing there is like, he was doing that like since the beginning of the game, you morons. Like that, all of you could be doing that. And spoiler, if you actually think that Faker's like the one who invented that, you're a moron. Almost every pro jungler does that, by the way, the whole time. In fact, most of them don't look at the camp, you idiots. You know, when you're Mykles in the camp, you're a moron. They're not. They're looking at the lane while Mykles in the fucking camp, like, because they've done it a million times. Like, even though I get that if you've never seen it before, it looks impressive. You are a noob if that impresses you. Because if in 2024 you only just discovered now that people do that with you aren't even engaged with the game, bro. What are you talking about? I can't believe that was like blowing his mind. It's like, oh my God, look at Faker, he's good.
I will say I think Faker does that more than most other mid laners do.
He does it actually like the StarCraft players where they do it too much, They do it to like keep their APM up and all that jazz as well. I know he doesn't need to do it. He could do it half as much as that, obviously, yes, of course.
If you guys are unaware with the way that StarCraft players play RTS games, there is something that StarCraft players will do, many of them, in the early stages of a StarCraft game. So when you don't have anything going on, what Thorin refers to as keeping your APM up is at your actions per minute. So basically the idea is that you are doing a bunch of unnecessary actions in the early game because you want to start that rhythm and keep it going so you maintain that pace. It's like having a pace as a runner, right? You want to maintain that pace throughout the entirety of the game. So later in the game, when you're trying to macro 3 bases and control your army and like harass their worker lines, right? That's when that APM is actually functional APM.
Yes.
But in the early game, you're literally just like flashing your screen around the map, basically just putting yourself into that mindset. And it has been for, 25 years of StarCraft what RTS players have done. It's very, very common. So is it necessary? No, but it must serve some sort of psychological advantage or like mechanical, muscle memory advantage just to keep yourself up. But it does.
I'll just put it out there. Crazy idea, guys. Maybe if the best macro player ever does it all the time, maybe it helps you with awareness of the map and the macro and what the instants are. Maybe we should all do it. What are we talking about? Guys?
Well, it's also amazing that he's able to shot call the game from the mid lane while he's laning.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And there
By
have
the
been
way,
many.
there's another thing as well. There's another reason, like aside from the fact he doesn't have the hands to actually be the best mid laner anymore, he obviously as well, Monty, unironically, clearly sometimes just drops waves and stuff. Like, bro, think of this fucking last semi. He was like giving Gumi Ushol the mid wave and stuff like that. Like, he clearly also plays more like a captain than the carry himself. Like, he's definitely not doing the equivalent, Monty, of like Michael Jordan, like, give me the ball and get out of my way. It's more like, go to the corner and I'll pass you the ball. That's what he's doing now.
Yeah. And he's been like that for the last several years, and it's worked very effectively, especially with a bunch of talented, rookie players or young players. So, I mean, credit to Faker. Great series. He's got a great Worlds. I think he's been pretty solid throughout this whole Worlds. Yeah. So, what's your prediction for the finals? I'm going 3-1 T1.
I do think, put it this way, they are the betting favourite, and I do think T1 should be considered the favourite. I'm going to take BLG just because I think like they are better players, but I do think T1 should be the favourite. I think whoever wins it will be 3-1 personally.
Fair enough. All right. I think that'll do it with our discussion of the semifinals and our preview of the finals. We will take a quick break, guys, and when we get back, we will do some viewer questions for you. So see you in just a couple.
Right, it's time for the last section of the show, which is, of course, titled Viewer Questions. The viewers in question are the ones that are our Discord subscribers. So if you subscribe to the Last for Nation Discord, there is a channel there where you can submit questions specifically for this show and other shows that have question features. So now Monty will pick some of those.
Or
questions.
hot takes for Hot Take Point Made, which is a fun new thing for League of Legends. And guys, thank you very much for your support via Discord. Over this offseason, after Worlds is over, we are going to figure out a more robust reward system for you guys, probably with bonus content and stuff like that. So thanks for supporting us, but we know we can do more, especially for your support. So we'll be looking into that. If T1 wins Worlds, do they actually run it back, costs be damned, and would winning justify bringing back the lineup this year? Here's the thing. If they win back-to-back...
do it with that salary cap thing? Wouldn't that somehow affect it, potentially?
So Faker's contract, I believe, is grandfathered into that, and there are some rules about, like, winning... Basically, if you win multiple international tournaments, then I think you get bonuses against that cap to keep those lineups together or something like that.
Which is insane, because you actually just make the rich get richer on that.
Look,
what the fuck? Okay. That's a bit weird. It's a very Korean way
I
to
will
do it. Okay.
I will go back and look at the rules again. Again, this is one of those things where LCK, like 2 years ago when they announced this system, they were like, more clarity coming in the future. Of course, no public details since that time whatsoever. So classic LCK maneuver, which is basically do a bunch of bullshit, try and cover it up and hope people forget. The ghost of a commissioner who runs that league is not very transparent, despite the fact that he's a ghost. So it's kind of ironic. Anyway, if T1 wins Worlds, like, do they run it back? The problem is, like, do the players want to run it back? At this point in time, you've won back-to-back. Do you really? I don't know if you are a T1 player and you can honestly sit there and say to yourself, surely we could have predicted that we would win 2 world championships back-to-back, right? I think if you look at their struggles this year, it's written, as Thorin said earlier, on the fact that Faker is literally slamming his head into a wall in a game. I don't think, if you asked Faker in that moment, if he thought...
one game from being eliminated from World's contention, like the
KT almost got here instead of there. What the fuck, guys? Like, if you asked T1 towards the end of summer if they thought they were going to win Worlds or even been in the World Finals, they probably would have said no, guys. So the question is, do you run it back when, again, a lot of these C1 players, they ran it back already, but imagine the amounts of money they could get from China or other teams in the LCK.
And remember, if anything, Monty, the idea if they win this Worlds, that they won 2 Worlds, bro, it's even more likely that if you're a player, you just go get the bag then. Like, as you're saying, pick any player in the lineup. Like, people might meme on, like, Order or something. Bro, he could probably go and be a millionaire in China. Yeah, of course. Some team's going to pick him up. He's a fucking world champion.
Two times world champion.
Yeah.
So I find it difficult to believe that they would stay together because I think the financial incentives would really outweigh the possibility of winning another Worlds. And honestly, if we're being real, T1 fans, some of these players might receive offers on teams that are more likely to win Worlds again than this one. It is crazy that this team is actually in 3 back-to-back-to-back finals. Given their domestic performance.
Right now, bro, imagine immediately tomorrow if you could take Hanwha and put Zeus instead of Doran, mate. There's a fucking interesting team right there.
Yeah.
Like, that could be a fucking banger, mate. They could win everything.
As we observe a decline in quality movies coming out of Hollywood, it is an opportunity for other countries to take over as the cinema hegemon. I don't think so, but that's fine. Which country's cinema do you think could produce the same cultural impact with the same resources that exist in the USA? Which country's cinema would you like to see have more recognition? So here's the problem.
With this premise, you notice, is that no one else has anywhere close to the funding. So in theory, the only one that could probably do it's like bloody China or something mental. But I don't think they're going to make good films. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not going to be good.
Right. The problem is that it's not only the money that exists in America, it's the population size of America, right? It's the century of expertise that they have developed with, film professionals. Like, it's just that it's generally, guys, in countries, once you have like that establishment of an art, because you have all of these tradespeople that work on it and the knowledge being passed down, right? It becomes really hard to like unseat somebody in that realm of art. And I think the combo of just the money, the technical expertise, the artistic expertise, it becomes really, really hard. And so I think only the countries that could do it would be like really big countries like China or India, who do have developed film industries. But honestly, in terms of actual craft, both Japan and Korea. I mean, Japan was, if you think about how fast Japan made fucking insane banger movies after their entire country is basically destroyed in World War II, it is crazy. It is crazy. So, I mean, especially in the era of the 50s and 60s, you're getting, Akira Kurosawa, right? There's a ton of directors that are coming in. So I think it is hard to say that, Japanese cinema can't really compete, because in terms of dollar value to cultural impact, Japan probably has had the second most potent, I would say, film industry. What do you think?
Yeah, I certainly think so. You could also make a very strong argument that, like, Hollywood is how America retains cultural impact over the world. Like, that is how you retell history and build things as a certain way. And by the way, loads of the politics that now spread around the world will have come through movies and how people think about the world. No, the problem I also think, another detail I'll just throw in there as well is, I also think if you look at some of that like Hollywood accounting and some of the crazy numbers they claim, I think in America, Hollywood is one of the methods I would speculate that like money laundering is done via, mate. Like, some of that just seems sus as fuck, like it almost seems like some of them go out their way not to make money from the movie, if you know what I mean. Like what's going on here? So like they're just trying to burn as much cash as they can. And so I don't know.
Well, they're just mostly, I think, trying to hide the money from, people who could get cuts of that, like the actors and other, directors, other contributors. But I mean, if you look at Japan, like obviously you have Masaki Kobayashi as well, like running in the same kind of era that Akira Kurosawa is in. Compared to the amount of money that Japan had, the quality of those films is incredible. Some of the best movies of all time. So, I mean, I think Japan is very much appreciated, but I also think that it's just really good films over a number of years. Obviously, they've led in animation for a long time too.
Like, I don't think people realize there really isn't very much money in like UK film. There's a lot of films because there's a bazillion actors, you all know. And obviously, spoiler, since he's speaking in English, everyone can watch the film still. But a lot of those films that people think of as like famous British films were like made very cheaply, mate, or they were made from things like lottery money that went towards it and stuff. So I don't think people realize outside of Hollywood, there really just isn't a giant film industry, like you're saying, except maybe like India and then a bit of Japan/China. That's about it. It's not really that big a thing otherwise.
Yeah, and India doesn't really like those Bollywood movies don't really impact anybody outside of India because nobody watches them outside of India. And I know, you know, those Bollywood films have a massive appeal to Indian people, but they haven't had the cultural breakthrough in the rest of the world, really. I think they're kind of. I mean, the spectacle of them is incredible, right? All the dancing, you know, the singing, everything like that. But I think it resonates. It doesn't resonate with other cultures as well.
But enough about Joker 2. That's a pretty good joke, actually.
Well, that's also true. Which character's growth was the most impressive from a writing perspective? Nog from DS9 or Gakar from Babylon 5? I haven't seen enough Babylon 5 to say, but I love Nog's character arc in DS9. I think it's I can only talk about that one, so sorry about the comparison. I think Richard's probably the one to ask that question of, because I think he's seen more. I think he's seen all of Babylon 5, where I've only seen part of it. But Nog is an amazing character. I mean, from kind of his childhood to growing up on the station to entering Starfleet Academy to his injury and like his PTSD, I think it's really, really cool. Great arc. Which is the bigger tragedy? O.J. Simpson outliving Norm Macdonald, thereby robbing us of one of the greatest strings of tweets in the history of mankind. Oh, God. No, I'm not answering. Butt pounder 420, you've outdone yourself. That is terrible, though. Sad about Norm Macdonald. When talking about choking, people bring up players like Chovy, Knight, and Peanut. Why is Uzi never mentioned when he is arguably a bigger choker than all of them, getting reverse swept by iBoy EDG in summer 2017 finals, losing in quarters in 2018 against Hjarn and Wadid, and failing to get out of groups in 2019? Is it because he made back-to-back world finals on the weaker side of the bracket while playing no LCK teams? What do you think, Thorin?
I mean, I actually think it's a straight fire point. It's like what we just said before, by the way, about like how people dip frame Chovy and Faker. Here's an example, like Monty. Imagine this scenario. Imagine that every result except last year's Worlds from Faker is identical, right? So he has all those times he doesn't win. Bro, can you imagine if Chovy went to the final against like a DRX like that and did nothing in the match and couldn't beat them? Like, I know he played them in the semis, but here's what's mental, Monty. At the same tournament, 2022 Worlds, Chovy losing in semis means he's a bomb and a choker, but Faker losing in the finals is just fine, because what they do is this, Monty. They do what really stupid people do, which is their brain goes like this, but since Faker's really clutch, he can only ever be clutch. So when you show them, well, look on your screen, he's not being clutch now. They go, yeah, but another time he was clutch. And you go, so essentially, we're just cherry picking which time it counts for you. Because I agree, Uzi I has like the two Worlds you're talking about where he made the finals, where he actually was on teams that shouldn't have made the finals, so people think of him as like an overperformer. But like, especially I can tell you in the LPL, he was like notoriously fucking sketchy when he was in the big best of fives. Like, he lost 1 billion of them, bro. Like, and some of the times, by the way, he was getting his pick, his team was winning, they were even the favourites. Well, so I will say, I don't think he was like a pure choker, but definitely he's getting the buff where people aren't even going to consider him a choker. That's true.
I think it's also egregious because some of these Uzi teams are literally built entirely around Uzi. So when he doesn't win, it is actually frequently his fault, if you know what I mean. Also, I will say that in some of the finals he made, he was on the correct side of the bracket. Like, look at Royal's run through 2013 Worlds. He played OMG, Fnatic, and then just got destroyed by by Faker in the finals, right? Yep. Faker, the real finals of that was SK Telecom versus Dodge and Blacksword, which was a 5-game banger. Like the semifinals that T1 played. Now, they did have the Gamania Bears, you know, T1 in the start of that bracket, but their semis match was significantly harder. And then also the two best teams in the world, Samsung White and Samsung Blue, were on the same side of the bracket in the next year. Whereas they played 2 domestic matchups versus EDG and OMG, and then got smashed by Samsung White in the final. So even the problem with having these single elim brackets is that the finalists sometimes are fraudulent. right? They are sometimes fraudulent. And so I would say that Uzi was actually incredibly lucky to make both of those finals, because if he hits Najin or he hits Samsung Blue in the semis of the other side of the bracket, he loses. They lose those games. So I think you actually have to investigate
I also agree
the way
with you,
he
by the
made
way.
those finals.
Another point that can absolutely be made against Uzi that you can't make against Knight and Chovy is I've made this complaint in the past. Like, you remember that season 9 Worlds where Griffin went and then fucking Chovy just played tanks mid or like bruisers. And then you've had all those times I've told you where I don't know why, how many times I've seen bloody Knight like opt into the champions he's not strong on at Worlds. Here's the difference. Like you said, Uzi used to demand his pick and his gear. Like the whole game had to be played.
And everybody play like 4 support champs around him.
The difference is, I agree with you. If Chovy was doing that every game and he was doing some frog and shit where you have to play his way, then I'd say fair enough. It's on him to win or lose. But sometimes these players don't even do that. So I think it's a stretch. It's why actually the sad thing is, not only have all the Faker fans like made Chovy and fucking Knight sound shit, but in doing so, they also make it sound like these are 1v1 games. Like, I think the worst thing about the Uzi one is those finals he made in that era, before he even got with people like Zhao here, that was like 1v9 teams. Bro, when he had people like Zhao, he had some fucking insanely good teammates. Like, spoiler, he had Zhao when Zhao was like an MVP of the fucking LPL. Like, he had some really good It wasn't like just a 1v9 player his whole career, guys. That's not the way that narrative goes.
Yep. So it is a good point, I think, and probably
that's a good reframing.
Probably Uzi should be considered somewhat of a choker.
I'll give you a good one as well, Monty. Here's another one. I've said this one in the past, but when you think about it, it actually really does stick. Bro, you know that whole thing we all did for years where we talked about Korea as if Korea was T1? You know that's completely skewed the history of League of Legends. Because if you think about it, Monty, most of the great Korean players in history haven't actually won like Worlds, etc. Like, you know, a whole bunch of them, mate. Chovy, whole gang of them. When we all say Koreans are clutch, we just mean Faker, guys. Gorilla. That's all we mean. Yeah, Faker has actually literally skewed the idea of Khan. All the best, bro, except Faker basically people on his teams. Like, it's actually skewed hit and damn one, obviously. Aside from that, we've actually given like a whole region a load of characteristics that just apply to Faker and T1, as far as I can tell.
That's actually a very good point. One of 369's nicknames in China is Ares because he is Zeus's son. Good nickname. That's very funny. Do you think rampant censorship helps to produce high-quality memes because it forces you to speak in an abstract way and communicate using obscure
references? That's an interesting theory.
On a daily basis? Okay. Maybe partially, but also it's the way that Chinese poetry and literature has always worked. Like, China has always been a country that has been deeply focused on poetry and literary arts, and it's taught. So I think that part of that is a lot of the more flowery descriptions you hear from China are based off of stories and poems that everybody knows in China, that are kind of like, you know, the common myths or the common pieces of literature. But also, I mean, and let me be clear, I can't believe I have to say this in advance. I am not calling Chinese people monkeys, but it is kind of the infinite monkey theorem, right? There are just so many viewers in China who are watching these games. In fact, one might argue that it's kind of surprising that the Chinese fans would be making Greek mythological references, which is probably something that not all of the Chinese are familiar with, whereas in the West, probably by percentage, more Western people would know that reference, right? But there are just so many esports fans in China, and there are so many people posting that when the funny thing gets surfaced, just like any meme, if you have enough people attempting to meme, then some of the memes will just be funnier. But Chinese are very good at memeing. Like, the memes they come up with are really funny a lot of the time. But yes, not insulting the Chinese people, obviously. Just saying there's a lot more of them because they are the largest single esports audience in the world by numbers. Just how it is. If the E.G. Dane story was an investigation done by the BBC's Panorama, what would be some of the esports scandals Brass Eye, the Channel 4 spoof of Panorama, have done? Do you know this? I have no idea what this is in reference
Basically, as he's saying, what they did is Panorama was essentially like the UK 60 Minutes. It's like you pick like a big topic and you have like, you know, like in-depth interviews with like people. And it's like, it's a primetime show. And Brass Eye was a comedy parody of that show, where what they did is this famous comedian called Chris Morris had like actually sets that looked exactly like the sort of set it would be like. So when he did this segment, he also did a similar show for like a news show. And the idea was, because the framing looks identical, it means he can play with the ideas more. So what he basically means is, what would the meme investigations along the line, like obviously the joke would be stuff like, how much was MBS consulted for the creation of Ambessa or whatever that new champion is, and the ultimate, did he demand the ultimate beat? It'd be like that. It'd be some. So what would the gag line? What would the parody investigation be in esports? It'd have to be something like, about Astralis and fucking Refresh or Blast or something, some shit like that, wouldn't it? Some meme like that.
I mean, surely there have to be some good ones about investigating Riot for match fixing their own games with garbage formats. Like, is Riot actually match fixing Worlds?
Oh, by the way, imagine if it just turned out that we're the marks the whole time. And obviously every other tournament's real money. That's why T1's not that good. But Worlds is actually rigged. And we're the fools like betting against the rigged team thinking it's a real competition. No, I think they can make it. I'm betting on BLG.
It turns out that the entirety of LoL Esports is just one faker narrative. They let us off for a few years to believe that he couldn't come back. But now they've spiked international viewership by making Faker in 3 back-to-back-to-back finals. It seems
Do you know, that's also what kills me inside. It's like, I love when all-time great players, it's what people don't even know. I even love it, Monty, when legendary players don't retire when they're not good anymore, and they still try and just like nick some championships on the way out the door. That's like a classic sports narrative, I'd say. But what I do hate is that I actually do think, for real, Monty, these fans believe there's some sort of like spirit bomb scenario happening, and because they really believe in Faker, that's why he like wins every world. It's like, it's so cancerous a narrative. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. You're not doing it. You're just watching him like the rest of us, you fucks. Just because you're like, but I really believe in Faker. You're not even watching play in LCK somewhere. You didn't watch. It was garbage. It was bad.
Also, I mean, Riot could not have engineered it more perfectly in terms of fan bases to have the Shy playing against Faker last year when it comes to the giant Shy, fan base in China versus Faker's fan base.
Dude, surely, like, you saw the stats when it, surely this final is going to break every record. All Chinese team against all Korean team. Fucking, this has to, night against
BLG isn't as popular as the Shy, though. That's the thing, is the Shy, the Shy is, it probably will break records, but maybe not. Like, the Shy is just so insanely popular. Maybe it goes to game 5. And it's like a really big banger it'll do. But if T1 3-0s, I don't think it does. Or BLG 3-0s. How would you rate this hypothetical Rogue/Nigma Galaxy team for next year? Oh, shout out, by the way, to the casters who are going to be casting the team Nigma Galaxy. God bless and Godspeed on that one.
I don't know if you ever saw it, Monty, but when that came into Dota almost immediately, I think it was on a Dream League, someone did do the dreaded verbal typo you might make around that team. Immediately just said that word. On stream account.
Jesus Christ.
Luckily, it's a few years ago, so everyone's forgotten now, but it was bad. It was bad, mate.
The hypothetical Nigma Galaxy team.
You just get scared even saying it, don't you? You have to be right down when you say it. Exactly, yes.
Nigma Galaxy. Odo Omne, Bo, Larson, Crowney, and Trimby. Odo Omne, Bo, Larson, Crowney, and Trimby. I'm not sure the Bo Larson... Really? The Bo Larson synergy might be a little wacky in that one.
They have no synergy in theory, but the difference is that just reclaims so many players I want to see good again. I'm willing to do it. Well, I'll run it. Let's do it.
As far as players thrown in the dumpster, it's a good roster. I don't know if I just don't think the synergy would be there with this team, but I like all the names individually.
Is he implying that's like a rumored roster?
No, I don't think that could be.
It's just spitballing it. Okay, fair enough.
All right. Your life is on the line. The only way to save your life is correctly choose who will be taking the winner of a hypothetical LCS split taking place in a Game of Thrones trial by combat. So we have to select a team to win LCS. You must pick a team coach combo to win NA. Who do you choose? All right. Who do you choose as your champion? 2015 Spring Elements roster, 2016 Summer Immortals, 2018 Spring TSM, 2021 Summer G2. Oh my God, this is too many. It's
already too much in it. So many variables already.
2022 Summer TL, 2023 Summer Energy. Well, definitely not that. Why would I pick 2023 Summer Energy? 2024 Spring KT Rollster. Ew, gross. Or 2024 Summer Cena. I see what he did here. He picked a bunch of super disappointing teams.
Oh, right. I see. You intentionally picked the shitter ones, right? Because you picked Elements. We missed the Elements one was the clue we missed.
Yeah, 2015 Spring Elements, 2016 Summer Immortals, 2018 Spring TSM. 2021 Summer G2. Okay. 2022 summer TL. So that was the Bjergsen roster. Okay. I see where this is going.
Right. Okay.
This is the Bjergsen super team. It's the shitty energy in summer. It's fucking Pioshik barrel KT from the spring. And it's the dysfunctional summer C9 roster. And we have to pick a coach too. Our coaches are Breaking Point Lokodoko, CLG Weldon, TL Jat, C9LS, or TSM Peter.
I think I already know. Isn't the obvious answer that we're picking this summer's C9, but we're going to have local coach Jojo who's late every single time? I think that, and I assume we're filming a documentary. That's going to be Breaking Point 2.0. Man. I want to see that. I want to see that film.
Yeah, but you have to pick a team that is going to win LCS or you die.
I mean, none of these teams are going to win. It's a joke, isn't it? They're all bad. I mean, in theory, KT Rolster should win. Them.
I would take KT.
Than everyone else. Surely there's wins by a landslide.
I would take KT with C9LS. That's what I would take. At least BDD would fucking smash NA. At least BDD would smash NA.
Oh, I'll end up being fine, mate.
So I think I picked that one. That is a funny question, though. You picked some teams that's like a funny. That's actually a very funny group of teams. Good question. I was overwhelmed at first, but then it got funny. Which league player would land on your current top 5 best hands list? Best hands?
Isn't it just Chovy? Chovy, Knight,
like
they're both
Chovy, Knight. I mean, Light, I think has been very good mechanically right now. Zeus is good. I don't know if any top laner really lands on there. And also maybe Bin is actually probably better than Zeus is mechanically. So probably not.
I mean, for me, it was never that Bin was like the craziest mechanical player in the universe. Just like his fucking aggression is like half of what makes him fucking sick, isn't it? No, I actually think a lot of them, by the way, I think a lot of them, unsurprisingly, would just be mids and fucking ADCs. Like Viper's insane. Jackie Love, when he wants to be, can be insane. These players are bonkers when they want to be.
Would you rather have to listen to a 10-minute motivational speech from Reggie once a day for 15 years or get weekly 2-hour coaching by Bwipo until you hit Challenger in Korean solo queue?
See, the irony is I'd easily take the Reggie one because I feel like the Bwipo one would just grate on you so much after a while. Especially because remember, he's going to be telling you all that advice he doesn't follow himself. Like you went to Derby. He's like, yeah, no shit, I did, Bwipo. You do it yourself all the time, bro. What are you talking about?
The thing about the Reggie 10 minutes a day for 15 years, and I assume this is a motivational speech, not just Reggie berating me, but it's honestly pretty easy to annoy him because he can barely string 2 sentences together. So you can kind of just tune him out. Just an idiot. The thing about the 2-hour coaching by Bwipo until you hit Challenger in Korean solo queue. Guys, I'm never hitting Challenger in Korean solo queue at my age. Exactly, the problem is like I would have to do that, and if I wanted it to stop, I would have to play like 16 hours of League of Legends a day in addition to the 2-hour sessions. So, and then even then I probably don't make it. So I choose motivational speeches.
Also, does anyone know, is Bwipo even Challenger on Korean solo queue himself? Because if not, then I feel like it's impossible. Like, is he actually Challenger? Does anyone know? Anyone can Google that quickly.
I hope T1 wins so that we can ridicule Riot inducting Faker in the Hall of Fame before his retirement. And they laid off the guy who made the Ahri skin, so it looks extra stupid when they update it. That's actually a good point.
Well, it is insane, the idea that like someone could win the world championship while in the Hall of Fame. Like that is actually just
but also they'd have to actually update the art on the skin to reflect that too, which is just kind of
bring that guy back in, pay him basic minimum wage, and have him update it. No problem.
Who is the Froggen of Western AD carries? The I will sit here and farm everything, I guess. Player scale up.
Why AD carries though? Why did he pick AD carry though?
I don't know. I'm just reading the question.
Oh, it's because he's trying to make me say Reckless or something, I assume, because it was sort of Reckless's playing style, maybe. I don't know what the premise is.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't know.
What brought about the idea of answering viewer questions? And did you expect it to become as popular as it has? Well, we thought we'd try and give you guys some value and interactivity for those of you interested in our shows. And honestly, we get a lot of, you guys tend to ask good questions, not only about League of content, but other stuff too. And people are interested in doing this. And I've always had a lot of questions on my stream, and Thorin started streaming now. So it just seems like kind of a natural fit. After seeing the Death Ball 5-man Smolder comps at Worlds, I'm baffled that NA region never tried to play Smolder at Worlds. Especially, I mean, the thing about the NA teams is that they Team Liquid mostly, Yun was mostly the Smolder merchant when Smolder was OP and it was playing the bot lane. And I think maybe not the only team, but the most notable team at Worlds who played Smolder the bot lane was aiming on D plus Kia. So I just don't think a lot of them played the mid Smolder. With all the history of NA teams at Worlds, mainly TSM doing the Death Ball comp and A-ramming in mid lane, what's your guys' take on the lack of NA Smolder? So first off, it's only good into like AD or Yone matchups for the most part. There's a lot of kill threat onto Smolder, so I don't know if my take is like NA teams probably tried it, and that Smolder died a million times in mid lane and then never came online, and then they lost the game. In your opinion, what is the worst film to win Best Picture? Well, I haven't seen all the films to win Best Picture, but in recent memory, it's probably Crash or Green Book.
I mean,
Crash
you have to remember,
really bad.
Monty, there was
Crash
a year
really
where
bad.
There's a year where I believe Driving Miss Daisy won the Oscar. I think that's real. If you look it up, like I think I'll look it up. But I think it did.
Hold on.
Sounds like a troll. 1989, apparently. Let me see. Did it win Oscar?
I don't know. Crash is like really bad though.
Yes, Driving Miss Daisy won not only Best Picture 1990, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing, Best fucking hell, bros. This is shit. What are you talking about? There's no way this is. It's not goated. What are we doing here? What is this? Off the top of my head, that's the one I'm picking.
I don't know. Crash is super bad.
Crash was pretty shit.
Chicago was also really bad.
The one with Richard Gere?
Yeah. Chicago was really bad. Shakespeare in Love is really fucking bad, actually. Dude, Shakespeare in Love beat Saving Private Ryan. What? What? It beat Life is Beautiful and Saving Private Ryan. Shakespeare in Love. Look, man. I like Tom Stoppard a lot as a playwright. Shakespeare in Love is shit. It is a shit movie. Oh, I forgot. Titanic beat LA Confidential. All right, it's all fraud. It's just fraud all the way down.
A lot of frauds. Yeah. It's the other way around. It's actually very rare they get a good film wins picture.
Dude, Titanic beat, as good as it gets, the full Monty, Good Will Hunting, and LA Confidential. Go rewatch all of those movies. Titanic has easily aged the worst of all of those. That is insane. That is insane. But yeah, Crash is really bad. An idea for off-season historical episode: best player in every role for the different seasons of LoL. That would be interesting.
That's not a bad one. Yeah, that's
interesting discussions. That would bring focus to some old legends like Season 3 Flame, Season 4 Going, etc. that people don't remember enough. That would require probably some going back in time and doing some research, but I'm down for that one. I also have an idea for an off-season episode. Thorin and Richard, with other CSGO personalities, did a major with all major winners, where they shadowboxed each team in a tournament to reach the best major winner. What was that called?
Time Travel Land. It wasn't technically major winners. It was just the best CSGO teams of all time.
Yeah. So that'd be fun too. We could do that.
If people don't get the premise, essentially what we did is we took like the top 16 teams of all time and did like a theoretical potential like seeding or whatever, and then we had them play. So like in League of Legends, the analogy would be round one would be like, DRX 2022 players against like insert whoever you want, RNG 2018 or something, and like who would have been the better team, and then you move on. It's basically a way to at the end like pick who the greatest teams of all time were by imagining them theoretically play against each other. It's not a bad concept. I think we should do it for good.
Would you all consider doing an updated GOAT players video with Dom? Yes. I think we should do that this year. I agree with that. That's another one.
By the way, the main issue with that sort of content, believe it or not, is just that most people who you would want to be involved just don't want to. Like a lot of people, by the way, I'm not joking, I won't say names, but some of them who I think are insane experts about League don't want the pressure of feeling like they had to make a tough decision and pick one team over another or one player. So unfortunately, a lot of them pussy out of it a bit. So I think unfortunately in League, I found it's a bit tricky. That's why we've had to settle at the moment just for me, you and Dom. But there's other people who would potentially do it with. It's just some of them don't want to do that sort of content for whatever reason.
I mean, there's also a limited number of people who have been around long enough
That's an issue too.
Accurately, talk about this. like, I do think, for example, Kadril has a very good grasp on the last few years of League of Legends, but you also have to remember that Kadril was literally playing when he was 17 in 2016 on my fucking Renegades, like, promotion team in Europe, right? He wasn't really, like, I don't know how much expertise he actually has about, like, 2012, 2013, 2014 League of Legends. He was just too young at the time in order to have that. So you really have to have people who have been kind of around since, season 2, season 3 in order to discuss this stuff. And Dom was playing in those seasons professionally. So it's a lot easier for him to comment on this. And he's been obviously streaming, making content for a very long period of time as well. So I think there's a pretty small pool of people who can do what I feel is accurately go back that far in time. But yes, we should do that again. I agree. I mean, off the top of my head, like, I think we could probably have a pretty good argument about maybe Score not being the best jungler anymore. I think we could have, like, Faker's obviously still going to be the best mid laner of all time. I think support is interesting because I think we said Bata in that show, and I think Mako is probably better now.
I mean, an obvious one's top lane. By the way, what if Wind wins fucking Worlds? He could be in that conversation suddenly.
Sure. Yeah, been definitely up there. So yeah, I think there's doing some updating based off of the last 3 years is probably justified because it's been a while, and you guys loved that episode, so might as well just redo it. All right, guys, we actually got through all of those viewer questions. So we'll keep doing this. Thank you for the off-season content, introductions, and everything like that. That is going to do it for us today. We will see you guys next week to talk about finals, break down everything, wait for whatever Riot's new announcement is going to be. Like, they just randomly dropped the new LCK format on us for no reason in the middle of World Semifinals. So we will see you guys then.